junior disciple once again rethinks his understanding of his senior. Jingguang ignores him, urging him to hurry on the road. If they get seen, it could seriously affect them. Since Kunlun is like this, Jingguang's ability directly changed his appearance. Now, as long as they change clothes, no one will recognize them. They can take their time walking and enjoy the scenery along the way. Then go and have a big feast. Junior brother thinks this isn't right. Too many people know him now. What should they do now? Jingguang said he would sell his ring when necessary. The main thing now is to determine where to go. The junior brother suggested a few places, with Jingguang's approval. To avoid the master changing his mind, they only stopped after leaving the Wulin Alliance's territory. He was too excited. He completely ignored his junior brother's head. The junior brother asked if he had given all the silver to the master. Jingguang thinks it's still the junior disciple. After they decided, they didn't even ask the person involved if he agreed. He was directly picked up by Jingguang and taken outside. He just wanted to leave quickly. If he sneaks away, he'll be reminded of it constantly when he returns. If he doesn't want to travel with his junior disciple, there's another choice. It's his master's uncle. The master knows he can't just leave his responsibilities behind, but is still not at ease with Jingguang being alone, so he decides to take someone along with him. That someone is his junior disciple. No matter what, he must not go alone. The master is worried about him going out alone and plans to accompany him. Moreover, he is afraid he won't be able to handle his current position. Jingguang advises him to stay and take care of the sect's matters. If he leaves too, there will be no one to manage the martial arts alliance. He will always support Jingguang's choice. But this time, he will not agree. Jingguang is somewhat confused by the master's words. If he sneaks away, no one would know. There are indeed many things outside waiting for him to explore. If he disagrees with leaving, I wonder how Jingguang would respond. Jingguang pretended to ponder. The master knows he has made up his mind. The master didn't expect that after the leader was chosen, he would prepare to leave. Actually, many things here need Jingguang. But then again, he has never left Kunlun since he was a child. His junior brother asked him what he was doing. Are you planning to sneak away from here? Jingguang said he's actually going to travel around the continent. He told his junior not to be too surprised, because their master already knew about this, but he won't easily give up just because of the defeat. The head of the Peng family knows this is just the beginning. What he needs to do is continue to maintain good relations with all factions. At this moment, he noticed that the Kunlun faction representatives had left. On the other hand, after knowing the results, Jingguang began to pack his bags. The one with the most votes wins. The representatives of each major sect will raise their hands to vote. After the count, the head of the Peng family was elected. Everyone came forward to congratulate. The head of the Lan family also came to offer his congratulations. He handed over all his possessions to his master. To him, these were just external belongings. Little did he know, the ring in his hand was truly priceless. Today is the day of the Martial Alliance leader election. The rules are simple, and then buy cheaper land on the outskirts. Junior brother thinks this would harm Kunlun's reputation, but Jingguang already has a plan. He will claim it's to help people in remote areas. Hearing this, junior brother didn't expect his senior brother to go this far. After this matter started, they constantly heard praises for Kunlun. Even though I knew Jingguang had other motives, he still did a lot of good deeds. Jingguang is planning to sell the land after the prices go up. The master said this was to help the Peng family. If the Peng family cannot be elected as the leader of the martial arts world, their agreement will be void. The head of the family didn't expect Kunlun to trust the Peng family so much. In the future, they would also ask Kunlun to continue helping them. So Jingguang found the Tang family for the temple. The orphanage was found through Zhongnan cooperation, and the restaurant was found through the beggar gang. Soon, the news of the four parties cooperating spread. The head of the Peng family wanted to join after learning about it, not just restaurants. Jingguang will also establish a Taoist temple and an orphanage. Although it is a good thing, the master thinks it is not appropriate to use Kunlun's name. It would be better to find more people to do it together for more stability, but it's under the name of Kunlun. We must eliminate the previous neglect, so we need to expand Kunlun's influence in the Central Plains. The mother and son were very grateful. They agreed to the suggestion, and he would buy their land in the future. The junior apprentice didn't understand his intentions. A restaurant couldn't make that much money. Is it really for the sake of reputation? Jingguang affirmed his thoughts. No time to cook, but still worried his mother couldn't let go, so he opened a restaurant near the Martial Arts Alliance to solve it. However, his mother felt this would require a lot of money. Jingguang told them to run the business well. In the future, if the beggars sect comes by, they can donate more to them, but in return, finding someone will be entrusted to Yairong. The boy doesn't understand why he is being so kind to him. Jingguang asks him if he is determined to learn martial arts. Then the group arrived at the boy's family's restaurant. Jingguang invited his mother to sit down together. He knows that the mother and son are inquiring here because they lack money and are interested in opening a shop in a better place. Then he lets the junior disciple choose a place among those they own. He wants to lend it to the mother and son as a restaurant. He initially planned to go with Yilong, but Yilong said he was too tired, so he could only go alone to enjoy the food. Hearing there was a meal, Yilong quickly followed him. How can a gift that has been given be taken back? Others don't know what's going on. They all look at the head of the Nangong family in surprise. On another note, today's training has already ended. Jingguang wanted to see the boy's mother. Clearly, they were all very precious medicinal herbs. There must be some misunderstanding in between. The elder doesn't want to say much. He is preparing to consider supporting someone else. The head of the family didn't expect to receive something and then backtracked quickly. He sent a message to Elder Ching Cheng to inquire about what was going on. The elder thought he was just trying to play it off. Those beans are not suitable for him. He will return them to the head of the family. The head of the Lan family did not understand what he was talking about. He secretly took them all away. He actually incurred no losses at all. That day, the Martial Spirit Alliance held a meeting. The head of the Nangong family noticed something unusual about those people. The expressions of those who brought gifts were not quite right. After listening, several people were very grateful to Jingguang. They did not realize that Jingguang was trying to build a good relationship with them. A small gesture would benefit him in the future. All these materials were gifts from the Nangong family to various sects. It was confirmed to expel impurities from the body. The only downside was that it needed to be taken near the outhouse. Afterward, he found a few other mentors and told them about the pill's effects and instructed them to take it next to the toilet. Jingguang's purpose was very clear. He needed someone inside the Martial Alliance as his informant too. The boy specially made a magical pill. He hoped his junior disciple would be the first to try it. He would gain tremendous benefits. Jingguang decided to name it Vacuum Wonderful Friend Orchid. He set aside Kunlun and his own share. He also had candidates for the remaining 8. He called those boys over. He indicated that it would expel the turbid energy from his body. The junior disciple already had a reaction. Seeing this, Jingguang directly grabbed him, instantly throwing him towards the direction of the toilet. When emptying the body, Jingguang ignored him. Focus on handling the final steps. Before long, the pill was refined. He handed a pill to his junior disciple, telling him to take it. Looking at the jar behind the Nangong family, he decided to continue following. The next day, the junior apprentice found that Jingguang was missing again. He didn't expect him to be brewing medicine so early in the morning. He approached and asked his senior brother what he was doing, but he found that there was nothing inside. He couldn't believe the Nangong family had dared to deceive him. He would repay them well for everything they had done. Jingguang in the other room is looking at the herbs. He didn't expect to have unexpected gains. Upon hearing this, the elder understood his intentions. He expressed his full support for the Nangong family. Afterward, he enthusiastically saw them off. Not long after, the elder happily ran back. Excitedly, he opened the jar to see what was inside, asked what he would get in return. The family leader ordered someone to bring the jar from earlier. Inside was food beneficial to the body. Elder Ching thought he was joking. The family leader asked him to take a look before deciding. Seeing the things on their backs, he followed them. It turned out they were visiting an elder of the Ching sect. The Nangong family's leader has a simple goal. He hopes to gain support to become the Wulin Alliance leader. The elder, seeing this, while thinking, he suddenly felt like eating meat, so he changed his clothes and went out to find a place to eat. Unexpectedly, he ran into people from the Nangong family, and surprisingly, they were traveling openly without disguise. He was very curious. After the master left, Jingwang fell into deep thought. If he were from the Nangong family, he would make the same decision. During these 7 days, he had no idea how to help the Peng family, because Huoshan and Zhongnan were currently under the influence of the alliance. Other sects are afraid of losing their interests, and agreed to the proposal. So, I hope, Jingwang adjusts the training process. Wenyan Jingwang didn't expect that boy to be quite capable. The head of the Lan family would not let this go unchecked. At night, the master wanted to talk to Jingwang. Seeing this, Jingwang asked the master what happened. The master stated that the Nangong family had started their actions. He suggested deciding on the candidate for the Wulin Alliance in 7 days. Everyone was enthusiastic. No one noticed that Jingwang had not taught anything at all. A few days later, more and more people participated. The forces supporting the Peng family were also increasing. All 5 of them felt a good impression of the Peng family. The head of the family knew this wouldn't make everyone a master, but as long as they persevere, the future will bring better opportunities. And so, after the first day ended, they would probably just stand still and wait. So everyone must learn how to fight with their fists and whatever is around them. One day, it might save their lives. As the day's training came to an end, the Peng family head also prepared recovery drinks for everyone. Although everyone will feel uncomfortable, the harm will only affect these 2. He will tell everyone how to respond and solve the problem. Next is the training with fists and wyverns. Jingwang doesn't know how everyone would fight if their weapons were damaged, then immediately apologized for his rudeness. He apologized to the guard, then called the elder and left the place. The matter has already begun. In the next phase, the Tang siblings will guide everyone in understanding the poison. This made the head even more curious about what was being taught inside. But the gatekeeper gestured that he couldn't let him in. The head didn't expect to be turned away. With so many people watching him, he had no choice. He lost control of himself. Everyone was talking about how much it had helped them. At this moment, the gatekeeper shouted that the break was over. The main gate is about to close. The head of the Namgung family didn't understand why the gate had to be closed. The gatekeeper explained that only those who want to learn can enter. This had a serious impact on him. Running for the leader of the martial world, he decided to investigate in person. To come up with a plan, he arrived at the Peng family's house. There was already a long line at the door. Unexpectedly, more and more people joined the training. The head of the family decided to investigate personally. The Peng family has hired young talents to teach martial arts for free. This attracted a large number of martial artists to come and learn. The news quickly reached the ears of the head of the Nangong family. After practicing for an hour, the next item is to spar with the disciples of the Peng family as the hosts of the event. The disciples are fully committed to guiding everyone in their training. This soon spread to the Nangong family. You have to lift your heels for it to count. Everyone understands the importance of basics, but it's hard to keep it up. That's because when you see others dancing, you feel like you're falling behind. So when everyone practices together, there's no fear. They had no choice but to complain. but they started practicing anyway. Jingguang doesn't know who told them that the horse dance is easy. He had everyone watch that person do it. The boys' training is the real horse dance. To build a solid foundation, the first exercise is the horse stance. Hearing this, everyone's enthusiasm was instantly dampened. They didn't come here to learn the horse stance. Jingguang said that anyone unwilling to learn could leave. The head of the family introduced everyone's mentor. No one expected it to be these geniuses. In an instant, they were filled with anticipation. That's when Jingguang shouted, "Today's training begins," inviting the Tang siblings by offering improvements to feedback reading. Confeng asked him what he planned to teach these people. Jingguang said that if he joined, he would find out. Back to that day. The day before this, Jingguang went to find help as promised. He first sought assistance from the Yilong gang, and won them over with gourmet food as an exchange. Then he went to the Tang family. Then word spread that the Peng family was teaching martial arts. That very day, many people came to see for themselves. The family head said they were inspired by Kunlun's golden light. For the martial alliance, he was willing to share the Peng family's martial arts. Half of them were taken back to Kunlun by his master. The rest stayed in the Central Plains. This could also place the family's people. And so, they reached an agreement. They informed both the uncle master and the master about it. This is requested for the master. Only then can Kunlun freely allocate this team. But for various reasons, the clan leader still can't make the decision. Seeing this, Jingguang suggests splitting the team into two groups. They are named Tianlong Squad and Tulong Squad. After hearing this, Jingguang hopes to become the leader of Tianlong Squad. The clan leader finds it difficult. He fears that others won't accept his qualifications. Jingguang reassures him. He came here on purpose. He wants to organize a training session, open to anyone. He hopes that Jingguang's participation will attract people. Jingguang just wants to know if the master's promise will be fulfilled. The master has already decided on two squads. He planned to teach these people a good lesson, but unexpectedly, he was the first to get hit. With just one punch, he was knocked to his knees. The next day, the head of the Peng family went to find Jingguang. He had a good idea. He wanted to see the results for himself. The boy never dared to disobey him, but remembering that Jingguang told them to be brave, he decided to ask him for a few moves. Shi Yongchuan didn't expect that after learning a few moves, he'd dare to fight back. I didn't expect the news to spread so quickly. At this moment, an entertainer called out to him. It turned out to be the youngest son of the Shi family, Shi Yongchuan. They were all employed by his family. They had heard that Jingguang taught them a lot of techniques. He wasn't afraid to charge at Jingguang. They were all trembling in fear, but overall they still gained a lot from it. When I was just walking on the street, I found that everyone was talking about how Jingguang was guiding them. Jingguang thought they practiced quite well, but the junior disciple can't rest. He has to keep going. Then the others left here first. They admired the junior disciple. The main issue for everyone was their lack of courage and confidence. This was a significant obstacle to their progress. So what they needed to do was become brave. The first step was to launch an attack on it. Before long, everyone was unable to stand up. So he wanted to know who supported the candidates for the leader of the Martial Arts Alliance. Everyone felt that such matters shouldn't be discussed lightly. Seeing this golden light indicates it will guide them in their martial arts. Upon hearing this, everyone rushed to share what they knew. The golden light also prepared to train them as promised. At this time, the conversation of the people nearby caught their attention. Jingguang felt it was time to gather some information. He then walked to a nearby seat. He indicated that he had always been in Kunlun. He knew very little about the affairs of the martial world, so it's best to serve all the meat that can be prepared. Everyone admires him for practicing while eating. Seeing such diligence every day, they can't afford to be lax. Only the junior disciple knows he is trying to cover up the fact that he eats meat. Then, the boy served a plate of vegetables, spotless. Let him just handle the meat. Although he is a Taoist, his junior brother is not, and this junior brother can eat a lot. He let them try preparing a dish. The waiting made Jingguang think of Kunlun. He was starting to miss those people. He hoped Peng Jia would really be elected leader. That way, his dream of traveling the world could come true. Referring to the boy who brought them as his son, upon hearing this, Jingguang was certain they had been deceived. He asked him. It's not that he felt foolish. Seeing his wife's mother seemed completely unaware, and so they arrived at the place they were told about. Seeing how shabby it was, Jingguang wanted to teach the other party a lesson. He became even more suspicious of the recommendation to come here. At that moment, someone walked out of the house. They then went to the restaurant from last time, but were told there were no tables available. The entertainer said he was a local, and knew a place with good food. Jingguang suspected he was trying to earn a commission. He asked the heavens if he should trust him. Jingguang remained indifferent. He pulled the junior brother away from here. Outside, he asked the others if they wanted to eat too. He offered to treat everyone to a big meal. So, he sent a message to his master, saying that he needed to leave first. He had something important to take care of. They shouldn't overlook the 5 ordinary people. The master wondered if this was really his idea. The 3 old men spoke up to stop him when they heard this. They asked if he wanted to compete with them for a disciple. Seeing more and more people gathering around, Jingguang began to think of a way to leave. The few people at the entrance gave him an ideas. Hurry up and eat. After the meal, the head of the Peng family personally came to visit. Everyone quickly returned the greeting upon seeing this. The head of the family heard many brilliant things from his son, Kang Wai. He wanted to invite him to be a guest in his family, and asked him how he felt. In Jingguang's view, he didn't seem like a good person at all. The master actually had the same thought. Then he told him not to speak recklessly. He asked everyone if the food was to their liking, and he thanked everyone for their contributions to the martial world. The purpose of today's banquet was just for this. The master interrupted the angry Jingguang. He introduced the person in the distance as the head of the Peng family. At this moment, the head of the Nunggong family looked down at everyone from above. He really enjoyed this feeling of being on top. A gaze from a distance caught his attention. Jingguang was angrily looking at him. He chose to ignore it, but he regretted it as soon as they arrived. He didn't expect it to be all vegetables. The other tables all had meat. He was angry about the unfair treatment from the Nunggong family. When he returned, his master and the others were just about to leave. They are getting ready to attend the Nunggong family's banquet. Since there will be good food, Jingguang decides to go along. Beside him, Jizun also wanted to impart his own martial arts. Jingguang stated that he had not agreed to learn. The 2 old men also asked him what he was doing here. Seeing them arguing incessantly, Jingguang felt this was a disaster. Then he asked his son about his impression of him. Tang Xiong felt that although the person was frivolous, he meant no harm. This made the head of the family want to meet the boy as well. At this moment, Jingguang had fully mastered the martial arts of the Gunzun over the past 2 days. Now Kunlun might affect his bid for the leader position. He is hosting a banquet to strengthen his influence. On the other hand, the head of the Peng family has also received the news. The Tang family and Dongyu both support him. He praised Jingguang, saying he is truly remarkable. The choice of the leader of the martial arts world was less important than that of a child. The elders stated that they would confirm the answers from each family. Jian Long also hoped that his father would calm down. His father told him to remain silent. He already knew about Tai Long's situation. The sect leader likes his honesty. As long as it's possible, Jingguang can ask for it. The news of accepting Qiang Zun's teaching spread. The head of the Nunggong family was unaware of what had recently happened. The sect leader wouldn't let Jingguang make sacrifices for nothing. Their sect will support the Peng family along with Kunlun. They'll also fund the development of Qinghai's merchant groups. Jingguang believes this is what the sect leader should do. Then he asks what benefits he could receive. After finishing the meal, he learned that his master was looking for him. It turns out the leader of Dongyu found his master. He originally opposed Gundun, teaching the Jingguang martial arts. Now, he actually hopes he can accept it, because once he learns it, he can pass it on to their disciples. He saw dog hair from the leader dirtying the food. The boy has a secret. I hope I can help him keep it a secret. They all thought it was a big deal. Little did they know it was about hiding the fact that he ate meat. He saw the leader sneaking a laugh. Jingguang felt he had some plan. The leader's inappropriate behavior was revealed. Let them eat quickly while it's hot. At this moment, Jingguang noticed something. He can't believe there would be such a disciple in Kunlun. He hasn't seen such a despicable person in all these years. And yet, Jizun is still fixated on this boy. But perhaps this is also an opportunity. Let that old man be so angry that he completely has a stroke. Both of them swear they won't say anything. But Jingguang is just eating meat, not saying a word. Only after eating does he express that this is the secret. The leader didn't expect this to be what he meant. He won't lie. And then I want to hear the details of what happened. Jingguang feels there is something more important right now. He asks if the two of them can keep it a secret. Seeing his serious expression, the leader was highly doubtful. After all, it had only been 2 days. Yelong transmitted his voice. You can trust Jingguang. Although he is very rude, the beggar sect leader instantly developed a liking for Jingguang. They arrived at the restaurant. Jingguang told them to make themselves at home. Yelong also heard about his training with Dozen. Jingguang said he had learned everything, but he had something that the other side could help with. He invited the two to follow him for a meal. That way, he could use the beggar clan's name to eat meat. Hearing there was food to eat, while he was troubled, someone found him. It was the wyvern. He brought the beggar clan leader here. The beggar clan leader asked if he wanted to learn from Master Jin. Jingguang felt it was no longer necessary. Ready to leave. Going to eat first. Because he wants to eat meat. He can't stay in the martial alliance. But then he remembered he had to change clothes to disguise himself. Dozen praises his speed and skill. However, at this moment, Jingguang has already stopped at the side. He didn't expect Dozen to let him get hurt, and then thank him for the lesson, indicating that everything has been grasped. Then a sky full of hidden weapons rained down. Although Dozen doesn't know what he intends to do, he wants to see how long the other can hold out. Jingguang sees that Dozen is using poison in his internal energy, so he takes advantage of the smoke to move behind him. Jingguang felt that what he said was just a fancy way of saying to run away. He was just wasting time here. Dozen admitted he wasn't good with words. In fact, practicing a bit would be better. After Jingguang agreed, he threw a handful of sand over. He spent the whole morning practicing hidden weapons. He felt it was completely useless to him. He asked when they would finally teach him something useful. Dozen indicated that there is one aspect of the Tang sect that is not widely known. It is the extreme emphasis on speed. Disciples from both factions opposed their decision, but no matter what they said, it was useless. Since that's the case, they decided to go talk to Kunlun. By then, Jingguang had already started training. Afterward, they informed the martial uncle and the master. The master fully supported him, learning different martial arts. Jingguang said his true master will always be just one. This news quickly spread throughout the martial world. Jizun and Qiangzun both stated that from now on, they would only teach Jingguang. But he cannot accept the nagging. Moreover, his own conditions must also be met. From now on, they will unconditionally help Kunlun disciples heal. At the same time, they must assign a master to be stationed permanently at Kunlun sect. Thus, the two sides reached an agreement. The head of the family hopes he can accept his father's teachings, and he will announce this matter to the martial world. This way, the two factions can become powerful allies. Jingguang knows it's not that simple. He can agree to this. He hoped to get some help for himself. Before that, they could return to the Tang family to heal. Upon returning, the head of the family asked Jin Guang to go with him to a place. After entering the house, they saw Jin Shi Duzun there. Jin Guang wants to hear the other party's explanation. Everyone was left wounded all over by him. Seeing this, he instantly appeared before the head of the family. He hoped that he could provide some healing medicine for Kunlun. The head of the family finally understood the persistence of the several old men. He then indicated that, in exchange, it was discovered that it was all emitted by Jin Guang alone. This was all to train the Kunlun group on how to control their killing intent. From afar, the head of the Tang family watched everything. He didn't expect the boy to be so terrifying. Not long after, Jin Guang finished Tode's training. After showing off, he ushered them out the door. The two hadn't been humiliated like this in a long time. They decided they couldn't let him take in that disciple so easily. Just before this, the training ground erupted with intense killing intent. From a distance, the Tang family head watched all of this. He didn't expect that boy to be more dangerous than he thought. Overnight, the old man actually grew a thick head of hair. His friends thought it must be his final flare of vitality, but the old man said it was all because he took in a precious disciple, seeing that Jin Guang had no intention of holding back. Today, he must change his attitude properly. Jin Guang's sword had already provoked the other party's anger. He directly unleashed his killing intent. He would use a killing intent comparable to his master uncle's in battle. Then they started to practice in pairs. All Jin Guang saw were ordinary sword swings. He must demonstrate it in person. Then he instantly attacked his master uncle. The master uncle didn't understand why he was doing this. A tremendous killing intent erupted from afar. I didn't expect someone would dare to do this in the Wulin Alliance. Not long ago, Jin Guang brought everyone to the training ground. They needed to practice releasing and controlling their killing intent. Everyone felt this was indeed what they needed to do. It seems he should also establish a good relationship with Kunlun. When he arrives, many people have already gathered at the entrance. But it seems that the people from Kunlun have all left. Just as the head of the Tang family was about to leave, it seemed those two were trying to compete with him for disciples. He doesn't have time to stay here. He must go meet Jin Guang. The head of the family has ordered him not to go anywhere. He must wait here for him to come back. Seeing them Jin Guang told the junior disciple to go back and train. Their fight wasn't suitable for the junior disciple to watch. Their contempt for each other was soon known by the head of the Tang family. Duzun claimed it had nothing to do with him. So, he quickly left. There was no need to keep boasting about how powerful they were. Everyone else also felt that way. This left the two with no choice. They had to make a move. It also attracted quite a crowd. The crowd was very interested when they heard about the duel. In an instant, the two became the center of attention. Jin Guang believed they definitely wouldn't resort to violence. He stated that as long as they stood their ground, the problem would be resolved. He shouted for them to take their contemptuous words away. The two were taken aback by how rude the boy was. They should have temporarily set aside their argument. It would have been better to educate each other instead. At that moment, the master uncle and others came over. He immediately approached Jin Guangli. That old man is notorious for his bad character in the beggar clan. Jizun could clearly hear their conversation. Then he also spoke ill of Gunzun. Jin Guang could no longer stand their constant arguing. When striking, remember that you are a beggar. After using it again, it was indeed smoother than before. Jiangzun marveled that the boy could make adjustments after just one look. He must get the boy for himself, so he wants to show off his strength. After watching, Jin Guang thinks it's indeed impressive. If he could lower his body, it might be even better. This staff technique was originally intended to drive away evil dogs. This reminded Jizun of his master's words. They were Shizun's, Kangzun and Jizun. They don't understand why they should reject the supremacy. Jin Guang said it's simple. He already has a master. Jizun thinks he doesn't know how powerful Shizun is. Early the next morning, Jin Guang was woken up by the meat. As he stepped outside, he heard someone arguing. Curiously, he went to see who it was, and found two strange old men who approached him and asked if he was called Jingguang. Wu Zun said that was the best young man he had ever encountered. If they met him, they would understand what he meant. The two did not expect such an arrogant person to say this. Then they chatted for a while. After that, they prepared to leave. He immediately returned to his own room. The proud one did not expect that the young people were unwilling to pay him any attention. At that moment, two old men appeared before him. They had heard the rumors that he attacked a disciple of Kunlun, but they knew it must be false. The head of the family was just curious about what attracted my father. He indicated that he would pay more attention in the future. Jingguang returned to the family. My father asked what they talked about. The head of the family hoped I wouldn't cause any more trouble. Despite that, he still wanted to thank Jingguang. Finally, there's a reason to educate my father. Jingguang thought the other party would fly into a rage. He would question what his true intentions were. The head of the Tang family wants to meet Jingguang. He heard the whole story from his father. His father always acted as he pleased, but would definitely not deceive himself. But also framed Du Sun. It made everyone believe that he was behind it. The master asked him what to do now. Jingguang felt that doing nothing was the best choice. At this moment, the visitor said that there was a guest waiting. The two uncles hurried inside to check on Jingguang's injuries. I didn't expect Jingguang to be lying on the bed completely unharmed. Everyone thought he was poisoned with a lethal dose. The next second, he was lying on the bed as if nothing had happened. This not only deceived everyone. When they came back, Dozen was still shouting at the door. The head of the Tang family directly attacked father. Dozen had no idea what was going on. His own son was attacking him. The disciple said Dozen attacked Jingguang. He rushed here to report the news. The Tang family head apologized once again. I hope to constantly hear people talking about this along the way, and each story is more outrageous than the last. The two uncles thought Jingguang had really made a move, but upon learning that Jingguang was ambushed, they were relieved. Then they realized something was wrong. They quickly asked what happened. The family head apologized to everyone on behalf of his father. The elder just wanted him to be aware of the matter. He wasn't there to blame the Tang family. At that moment, a commotion caught their attention. Outside, people were shouting about some ambush, and instantly spat out a mouthful of blood. Then he shouted that he seemed to have been poisoned. Dozen claimed he didn't do anything. The onlookers were shocked that Dozen attacked a Kunlun disciple. Meanwhile, the elder found the head of the Tang family, but thinking of his master and martial uncle, he held back. To make the other person leave quickly, he came up with an idea. He then pressed his own acupoint with his finger. The next morning, Dozen came here again. Jingguang indicated that their elders were not around. Wuzhen only showed up now because he knows this. Seeing the golden light, he really wanted to teach the other person a lesson. If the other party came again, he wants to secretly eliminate his master uncle, so that he won't cause trouble. He can only endure. Otherwise, it will keep bothering him. The two didn't understand why he wanted to try reading. Jingguang felt that this could improve his immunity. The uncle then asked him what he thought of the proposal for supremacy. Jingguang said that having just one master was enough for him. In fact, he didn't want another person nagging him. So please give it careful thought. He will come again tomorrow. The martial uncle watched him leave. This indicates that the world is full of randomness. After that, Jingguang told his master and his uncle about the situation. He wants to take Jingguang as his disciple, but not a true master-disciple relationship, just to pass on his knowledge. So there's no regret for Jingguang or Bailey. What he values is the boy's talent. That was to become his disciple. However, Jingguang returned to his residence without agreeing. The Shishu and others inquired what happened. Du Sun introduced himself as being from the Tang family. Then he asked about his injury from the fall. I heard from Jingguang that he was actually cured by him. Du Sun had never heard of repairing the dantian after living for so long. but it shouldn't be a joke when it involves elders. So he said he wanted to give Jingguang a gift. If this were in the demon sect, he would definitely be taught a lesson. I wonder what his expression is about. Didn't the elders in the sect tell him that being so rude won't allow him to live long? He must have been protected by that old man all along. The old man didn't expect him to be so rude. He instantly appeared in front of him and introduced himself. But the sovereign asked if he had changed his mind. Jingguang knew that the sovereign was one of the 10 sovereigns. But the old man in front of me doesn't look like that at all. Jingguang decided to take his leave. The pterosaur still wanted to stay a little longer. Then Jingguang wandered around aimlessly. An old man appeared, trying to stall him for a bit. Jingguang directly planned to return to his residence. He gave his opinions on each bottle, and pointed out which ones still had room for improvement. Poison Phoenix was very unhappy, feeling that she had less than her brother, seeing that the two had no further questions. This is everything they could offer. Jingguang did not hesitate. He drank it directly. Then he began to resist their luck, and collected the essence of each item. Poison itself cannot be classified as good or bad. To prove its value depends on how it is used. Someone on a distant rooftop agrees with Jingguang's ideas. The Kunlun disciple they heard of must be that child. The siblings have prepared a lot of poison here. Unexpectedly, there was someone else waiting for them. He is Tang Wujun, the young master of the Tang family. He heard a lot about him from his sister. He is very curious about Jingguang's opinion on poison. Jingguang thinks it depends on the user. The boy doubted how his face could possibly look like his. Angrily, the old man asked what was wrong with his face. No matter what, he will return to take the boy as his disciple. Not long ago, Yilong went to find Dufeng with Jingguang. Even knowing it can't win, it still chooses to die. Only by staying alive can it continue to fulfill the Wuling Alliance's duties. Most people think dying is the best option. The old man saw his younger self in the boy. Was he supposed to cry like everyone else? After all, this is the Wuling Alliance. The Wyvern just didn't want him to cause unnecessary trouble. Jingguang couldn't understand their righteous thinking. He asked if the Pteranodon would sacrifice itself for the Wuling Alliance. Looking at these, Jingguang struck his own weapon. I guess those people will definitely fight over it. At this moment, the Wyvern felt Jingguang was different from ordinary people. Jingguang didn't understand what he meant. They still have time to go to a place. It's the place they cannot miss, the Heroes' Pavilion. This is what the previous leader of the martial arts world left behind, and the seized demonic cult weapons. He wants to thank Jingguang for his help. Dufeng actively speaks to him. She hopes he will invite Jingguang over. This proves that Poison Phoenix thinks of herself as very reliable. Before that, it would be easy to deal with him if he had worldly thoughts. It's definitely much better inside the room than outside. Jingguang doesn't understand why it is built this way. Yilong heard he was coming. He specifically came to find them. But he was still mistaken. It felt as if he had returned to Kunlun. Tang Xiong explained that he would understand once he entered. Then he took his leave from here. Jingguang's expression was clear to him. But that person's aura was different from the Peng family. Sooner or later, he would also check the others' cultivation technique. Before long, they arrived at the Wuling Alliance. Jingguang felt that the architecture here was quite exquisite. The accommodations must not be too shabby either, because the name known throughout the world must be his. Peng Kangxiong Tingguang didn't understand why that person kept staring at him. If he went from the Peng family, he might not have tolerated it. Uncle told me to learn from them not to be arrogant or self-restrained. Kang Xiong was curious about what that boy was doing. He didn't expect Jingguang to also be blessing everyone. He remembered his brother once said that person would be famous one day. He can't agree with that. The next day, Kunlun and the Peng family set out together. When the people of the Martial Alliance saw them passing by, they all hoped to receive their blessings. Although Uncle and the others had limited time, they still tried to bless everyone. to resist the demon sect is sending experts to Kunlun. This way, the people of Qinghai will be free from obstacles. Jingguang also hopes he becomes the alliance leader. That way, his dream of traveling the world can come true. Seeing his expression, his master thought he was hating the demon cult. Then Jingguang asked what kind of person the head of the Peng family was. His master said that he's a man with a chivalrous spirit, so he will definitely keep his promise to them. Fortunately, the demon is no longer around. Jingguang remembers that he didn't do any of those things. He asked his master if he remembered the names of those people. After hearing, he realized they were all people who had betrayed him and escaped. The bad deeds done were actually blamed on him, but he must avoid getting involved in their power struggles. The early alliance masters won't have much power, so it's hard to influence the demon cult. The former demon lord was very evil, constantly waging war on the Central Plains. It was only at dusk that they agreed to meet again tomorrow, after the other party left. Master wishes to speak with Jingguang. Starting tomorrow, they will stay at the Martial Alliance. He hopes to learn from the various sects. Uncle thinks he seems to want to verify, but he must listen to his own advice. Never be enemies with that person. At this time, Jingguang and the master returned here. The two caught up for a long time after meeting. It was Peng Suyuan from the Peng family. Jingguang saw them warmly leading everyone inside. Then he went upstairs to find his master. At that moment, Peng Kangxiong asked his uncle about what he said. Is he the one who helped Kang Wai? But that sword dragon was really healed. Jingguang said that using the technique in the future might just cause flatulence. Early the next morning, the junior disciple started training. Jingguang thought the junior disciple was improving quickly. At that moment, the waiter announced that a guest had arrived. He hated that man to death. Thus, the reputation of the Kunlun demon spread. The master uncle asked what had happened. Jingguang recounted the whole story. After hearing this, the master uncle felt that Jingguang was repaying resentment with virtue. Then the Stegosaurus took off uncontrollably. He didn't know why he was lifting off from the spot. His body was completely out of his control. He intended to explain that this wasn't his wish, but after seeing the expression of the girl he admired, the Stegosaurus seemed to realize his intentions, but he was told not to get distracted. At that moment, Jingguang told everyone to disperse after he counted to 3. Before they could understand what it meant, Jingguang had already slipped away. He cares more about the Nangong family's techniques than saving Jianlong. He makes Jianlong accept his qi, and then uses his techniques to heal. This way, Jingguang will know how to operate. Yilong could only seek help. Jingguang saw the pain on the other person's face. I don't know why he doesn't listen to Poison Phoenix. He asks Jianlong if he is sure he wants to accept his help. Then Jingguang tells him to follow his orders. However, Jianlong wanted to prove he was stronger than Jingguang. Ignoring everyone's objections, he drank it down. Almost immediately, he reacted. Everyone felt that Dufeng should save Jianlong. Dufeng stated that he had no way to help. Jianlong had no choice. He gave everything he had, but only got 3 drops in return. He suspected that the other side underestimated him. Lu Feng urged him to stop this dangerous behavior. If he wanted it, they can offer a corresponding reward. The silver in the swordsman's hand. Jingguang thinks it's a bit too little. The two then fell into a standoff. The Stegosaurus thought it was impossible. Could it be that the Venom Phoenix ignored her feelings for that boy? He had to prove he was stronger than him, and then get the Venom Phoenix to give him the same special treatment. Golden Light said the only thing left was what was in his hand. Both of them can't believe it. Jianlong asked if he drank Miss Tang's special brew. Jingguang nodded. He thought it was indeed delicious. The Pteranodon confirmed his statement. Inquire about their relationship. Quan Feng is also curious. Didn't they agree to have tea? Lu Feng said, they are friends. They are going to study martial arts literature. He had heard Quan Feng mention him before. Then he introduced himself as from the Nung Gong family. His family calls him Sword Demon. Lu Feng suggested that Jin Guang and the boy go elsewhere, but they were stopped by Jian Long. He wanted him to evaluate some of his other works. At that moment, someone interrupted their conversation. It was Quan Feng who brought someone here. He didn't expect Jin Guang to be here too. The boy asked if Jin Guang was that Kunlun demon. The two of them completely ignored Lu Jingfeng. At this moment, Jin Guang placed his finger on the bottle's opening. He mixed the 3 drinks together, ignoring the fact that Tang's disciple had such a talent. Tang Yishi asked Jin Guang if he had time. After a while, I stood up. I felt great. This should have been specially developed for negotiations. Tang Yishi didn't expect him to guess his thoughts. Seeing his condition, both of them advised him to give up. The golden light can be distracting. It keeps them from bothering me. In my past life, I created the fierce martial arts. It was designed to be immune to all poisons. His financial capability and skills can only allow him to do this. The golden light indicates that he will savor it well. After receiving it, he drank it again. This time it wasn't so easy. It had completely exceeded his expectations. Then there's no need to hide anymore. Although he is a disciple of the Tang family, the family only supports the best. They value skill more. So, at present, this time, 2 different things have fused together. I didn't expect Jin Guang to drink it down without hesitation again. After drinking, he said it tasted much better this time. Tang has always doubted that he wouldn't have any reaction at all. Finally, he realized the other party's intention in finding him. Then he prepared a drink for Jin Guang. As long as he drinks it, it'll be fine. He would agree to the lineup. Unexpectedly, after drinking, Jin Guang said it was too much. Seeing this, Tang Yishi took out 2 bags. It sounds like he's bound to lose. Tang Yishi says sooner or later, they'll despise him anyway. Then ignored Lu Jingfeng's introduction. Upon realizing that the other person was the Kunlun demon, he mentioned that he had heard Quan Feng mention him. Liu Jingfeng has had a crush on him for several months, but he has never been able to express his feelings. Today, he has to say it, because he's afraid Miss Tang might get hurt from his words. Before this, Jin Guang had never asked anyone to spar before, because he believed sparring with the Tang clan would improve him. Liu Jingfeng quickly ran over to stop him. Tang Yichi asks why he wants to stop them. As long as he can endure it, he would agree to spar with him. Before the other person could finish speaking, the boy had already gulped it down. He even hoped for something stronger. Once it starts, it's a fight to the death. Seeing the other party's fearless expression, he couldn't tell if this person was crazy or just confident. This is a drink so unbearable that even a fly couldn't stand it. But he told the boy it's not enough to be lethal. Jin Guang thought it was a perfect opportunity. He was looking to increase his tolerance. Then he walked over to the opponent's table, hoping to have a sparring session with him. Tang Yiji said his martial arts can't be used for sparring. Jin Guang suggested a sparring session with the opponent. It might lead to some changes. Liu Jingfeng expressed that it would be life-threatening. The opponent is Tang Yiji from the Tang family. He is known as the Poison Phoenix. He had Liu Jingfeng go over to see if there were any issues. Liu Jingfeng greeted Miss Tang. He mentioned that the weather was nice today. Then he asked Jin Guang how he was performing. He just couldn't speak whenever he saw the other person. Seeing that his question was unnecessary, Jin Guang urges him to hurry up and go. Then they arrived at an inn. Jin Guang sat at a distance, observing the girl. The first impression he got from that person was unusually cold. Upon learning that the other person is also one of the 4 phoenix wings, Jin Guang decides to go take a look. Then he asks about Liu Jingfeng's status among the 4 phoenixes of Julong. This question stumps Liu Jingfeng, because he has not yet competed against everyone. He directly rushes out the door. Just like that, only Jin Guang is left alone. He thinks he should learn martial arts from other sects. At this moment, Liu Jingfeng arrives here. I hope Jingguang can accompany me to meet the person he likes. When the junior disciple opened his eyes, it was already the next day. He is very grateful for his senior brother's help. Jingguang tells him to think carefully about how to utilize the land. The junior disciple feels that he should consolidate his cultivation now. He hears that he will continue to help him. Then Jingguang prepared to open up his meridians. He told him to endure the pain. At that moment, Jingguang didn't expect himself to be obediently listening to the uncle's teachings, and even helping the junior disciple open up his meridians. He had been completely changed by Kunlun. The uncle master hoped Jingguang could restrain his power. Jingguang said he had only thrown one punch. Seeing this, the uncle master decided to give Jingguang a good lesson on the way. The junior disciple thought the senior brother was being reprimanded, but he still wanted to know when he'd be taught the techniques. But Jingguang said that his uncle master asked him to return to the inn. If they were to spar, there would be no time to practice conversational skills. Wei Yan and Liu Jingfeng thought it could wait until after the sparring. They returned to their rooms. No wonder Peng Kangwai called him a master. Now, it's been 4 years since that incident. In these 4 years, how much could someone like him grow? He also wants to experience it himself, to gauge the opponent's strength. Unexpectedly, he was knocked back with just one move. Then Jingguang asked who was next. Everyone that came next was defeated by him in one move. No one dared to challenge him again. Liu Jingfeng didn't expect Jingguang to be this strong. At this moment, Jingguang should teach those people a lesson. Shishu just needs to give them a slight punishment. Jingguang can only try his best. Seeing this, Nangong Ying also drew his sword. He hoped the other side wouldn't regret it. He would tell their family about what happened today. He was very concerned about the uprightness of the future. Immediately, he apologized to the elder on behalf of these people. The elder felt that he truly deserved the title of Yilong. But if we just let it go like this. Upon hearing this, Jingguang glanced at his martial uncle. The elder saw that the other party completely disregarded him as an elder. This is a sign of disrespect towards Kunlun. At this moment, Liu Jingfeng could no longer stand by. He couldn't believe they were behaving like this in front of an elder. Jingguang remembers he was praising her the whole time. He doesn't know what their relationship is, but he feels he didn't do anything wrong. Since that's the case, Nangong Ying thinks they need to have a competition. The master uncle asked what Jingguang had done. Many people outside came to look for him. After Jingguang came out, their leader introduced himself as Nangong Ying. He heard that Jingguang was very disrespectful to Miss Yan. Then I asked myself where the problem lay. The junior disciple thought the problem might be that he was a beggar. At that moment, the master uncle walked in. He interrupted them. Liu Jingfeng quickly got up and paid his respects. The boy introduced his junior, who had never been in love. The junior thought this was a bit inappropriate, but Jingguang already started praising him. When he heard him praising Miss Yan, Liu Jingfeng thought it was great. Now it's his turn to help Liu Jing solve a problem. Jingguang decided to send his junior brother to handle it. The beggar hoped he could do him a favor. The boy handed him a silver note right away. The beggar said he just wanted to learn how to talk to girls, but this still doesn't put him at ease. He asked his junior brother to also inquire about the market prices. If it's done well, he will teach his junior brother some skills. Half a day passed like this. Jingguang obtained a lot of land. After a few left, he asked Liu Jingfeng if he understood his meaning. Liu Jingfeng hopes he will keep his promise. In fact, Jingguang does not trust those people at all. He hopes that the beggar's sect will secretly help him monitor the other party. The waiter brought the best housekeeper. Jingguang hopes they can help him acquire the undervalued land. If they dare to deceive him, he will make them pay 10 times the compensation. But if things go smoothly, he will reward a few of them. Jingguang considered what he could gain from him. He then thought of the beggar's sect's ability to gather intelligence. So he agreed to the other's request, but he also needed help for himself. At that moment, A few people came to interrupt them. He hoped Jingguang could help him now too. He was deeply in love with a woman, but he didn't dare to speak to her. Jingguang thought he liked Yan Yisen, seeing the other party's sincere inquiry, but he didn't even dare to talk much with the girl. Jingguang couldn't understand what a beggar had to fear. Liu Jingfeng said it had nothing to do with being a beggar. No matter what, he wanted to learn from Jingguang. Peng Kangwai once said that Jingguang had helped him. He wanted to talk to Jingguang alone, preferably somewhere without anyone watching. They then went to the backyard. Liu Jingfeng asked Jingguang how he could speak like that, speaking of the beautiful Miss Yan, as if she were nothing. He then handed over a silver note. Liu Jingfeng said that's not what he meant. Upon hearing this, Jingguang led him into the inn. He didn't expect the other person to eat so much. But the other person said that wasn't what he meant. The innkeeper said someone requested a meeting. They wanted to see a Taoist named Jingguang. The visitor introduced himself as Liu Jingfeng from the beggar sect, formerly known as Winged Dragon, one of the 9 dragons and 4 phoenixes. But to Jingguang, he was still just a beggar. He asks how many girlfriends he has had. Seeing him silent, Jingguang assumes he can't count them all, but learns that he hasn't dated a single one. The next morning, the fists of 9 dragons and 4 phoenixes mocked. The 5 men of the boxing style indeed take pride in their fists, but saying that is still somewhat inappropriate. He should first compliment the other person's face. Jingguang thinks the junior disciple understands women very well. At this moment, Yan Yizhen spoke, calling him an extraordinary person. Hearing this, Jingguang thought he should also praise the other person. So he said that the calluses on his hands were really beautiful. Everyone was left speechless. The junior brother didn't expect Jingguang to say this. To make money, and also to eat well and live well. After he finished speaking, the girl remained silent. Jingguang felt that he couldn't just drive the other person away. Why, ask herself? The girl knew she was being a bit rude. She introduced herself as Yan Yizhen, from the Yan family of Jinshu, then asked again about Jingguang's intentions. Jingguang's answer was simple. As everyone was returning to the inn, the girl called out to Jingguang. She had some questions to ask him. She wanted to know why, as Taoists, they were burying the land. Jingguang was curious who she was. The junior disciple replied that they are disciples of Kunlun. So why are they always thinking about making money? But upon hearing that Jingguang could teach him techniques to quickly improve, he thought they should acquire the land. Their conversation caught the girl's attention. Before long, they arrived in Henan, where the Wulin Alliance is located. The master uncle allowed everyone to take a stroll around the city first. Because of the Wulin Alliance's influence, the area is developing very rapidly. Jingguang asked the junior disciple where would be a good place to invest. Shishu asked him where he'd been. Jingguang said he went for morning practice. If he wanted to join, they could go together tomorrow. And so, the Kunlun group left Xi'an. But no one escaped the training of Jingguang. After learning this, he thought it was a useless thing. The other party told him that with the token, he could go to his family to exchange for a weapon. His family is the renowned Iron Blood clan, specialized in forging. Jingguang thought he could visit if he had time. Then he returned to the inn. Seeing the girl's attitude, he thought it might be too much flattery. Before this, he had obtained a token. That was a symbol of Hu Yujin's identity. If he plays the mediator, he can achieve his goal. Jingguang will charge him after solving the problem. Everyone thought he was going to praise the girl for being pretty. He didn't expect that he would say the calluses on the other person's hands look nice. That thickness should be able to smash a giant rock with a punch. Jingguang decides to go back to sleep. He suggests Hu Weijin could start with Huashan and Zhongnan. The previous officer's office will surely demand compensation. But if he gets involved, things will be different. Neither side can handle it openly. Seeing this, Hu Yujin could only say that he was there to set up a branch. After hearing this, Jingguang realized this was aimed at spreading Shimo Lian in the Wulin Alliance. At the same time, it threatened the righteous Wulin. Jingguang thought he might be a performer. After figuring it out, the Golden Light didn't expect this person to be so self-absorbed, and then asked him about his purpose in Xi'an. Seeing that the other party didn't speak, Jingguang was ready to sell him along with these things. The Wulin Alliance would probably be very interested in him. The Golden Light was actually searching him. The Golden Light thought his status must be very low, since he had nothing valuable on him. The tasteless essence indicated that only those with status bring nothing in. After all, he is the chief disciple of the Jade Qilin. He prepared to throw another punch. At that moment, the opponent took out a weapon. He completely disregarded what he had said before, but this had no impact on the outcome of the battle. When he opened his eyes again, he would speak with his fists. Jingguang felt there was too much nonsense. It had already arrived in front of him. He thought one punch could end it. Unexpectedly, the opponent reacted quite quickly. Since words didn't work, Hu Eugene had to take action. Seeing this golden light, he hoped to change locations. Afterward they went to the back mountain. Hu Weijin stated, "As a man." Jingguang immediately rejected him after hearing this. He had no interest in such an alliance. Although he agreed with his words, Dan Kunlun was excluded, so he hoped not to be bothered again. Suddenly, a figure appeared behind him. He didn't expect the other person to be watching them sleep. The man claimed he was a fox spirit from the demon realm. He thought that Jingguang was more suited for them than the righteous path. The righteous path is also just for benefits and power. The martial uncle can only trust that they've left here. The junior disciple didn't expect them to frame others. Jingguang says that's what the waiter himself claimed. He never said which sect he belonged to. That night, Jingguang sensed someone watching them. He had to ask the two again. Uncle Master asked Little Master Ji if he knew what had just happened. Jingguang calms the junior disciple. Tells him not to be afraid, indicates that they know nothing about this. He knew Huashan and Zhongnan couldn't have done this. He had to confirm whether it was Jingguang's doing. But the two claimed they had never left this place. Only then did Uncle Master feel reassured. But after leaving, he still felt something was off. The two knew it must have been Kunlun's disciples, but still deliberately asked who exactly did it. The disciple originally didn't want to say it in front of Kunlun, since everyone was saying it was done by the two sects. Then Uncle Master prepared to ask Jingguang about it. The two know about their family, quickly asked who did it. The disciple looked at the Kunlun sect's martial uncle. He said it was two young Taoists. The martial uncle immediately thought of Jingguang. He won't change his mind. Prepare to leave here. At this moment, a disciple reports to Madame Chu. The four elites of Xi'an were just attacked. From a distance, a man watches with great interest. He's become deeply intrigued by Jingguang. Meanwhile, Huashan and Zhongnan both advise Kunlun not to support the Peng family. Uncle, I didn't expect them to be this blatant. It turns out their relationship with the Peng family isn't like that. He asks what to do. Jingguang thinks it's no big deal to just teach the bad guys a lesson. Xiao'er hopes the two will definitely save him. Jingguang tells him to put all the blame on himself. Then he asks if he's ever heard of the 9 great sects. Then the 4 of them were thrown down from the 3rd floor. In an instant, a crowd gathered to watch. Someone recognized their identities. All 4 of their families were prominent families from Xi'an. The junior brother realized they had gotten into big trouble. At this moment, Jingguang asked for another bottle. Only then did the 4 stop and look over. The junior brother said they couldn't cause trouble here, but they had already come over. They should hurry up and give up their seats. The 4 people who came upstairs immediately noticed them. They didn't expect the poor Taoist to be secretly eating here. They then told the waiter they wanted to sit here. Seeing the waiter dared to resist them, it seemed he didn't know the power of the 4 talents of Xi'an. After all, they are Taoists. Jingguang said everything is empty. There's no need to delve into it. Moreover, his voice was too loud. There are other guests, and he didn't seem like an upright disciple. The boy went to a restaurant for the first time. He took out a silver note of 100 taels. He asked the waiter to bring the best chives. The junior disciple thought this was inappropriate. Otherwise, he will spend it all sooner or later. The waiter enthusiastically invited them to dine upstairs, because the view up there is great. At that moment, Jingguang noticed something. A person in the distance had been watching them. He was preparing to go have a good meal first. After that, they disguised themselves and went to the restaurant. Jingguang took out a banknote worth 100 taels. The younger disciple hurriedly stepped forward to stop him. He will be responsible for the finances in the future. So the Kunlun group also settled into the inn. The younger apprentice noticed that the two sects seemed to be watching them. Jingguang, however, paid no attention to their intentions. He just wanted to enjoy his time in Xi'an. Then he planned to have the younger apprentice change into different clothes. They still hadn't found a place to stay. The two of them eagerly hoped to go to the inn they were staying at. Master Uncle knew they must have teamed up because of the martial arts alliance. He wanted Kunlun to join the camp they supported. It didn't matter one way or another. At this moment, the elder uncle noticed two familiar faces. They were people from the Huashan and Zhongnan sects. Two sects competing for benefits are fighting against each other. At the same time, they also discovered their master uncle. After exchanging pleasantries, Master Uncle prepared to take his leave. Just pay the remaining balance now. The next day, Kunlun and the others left this place. A few days later, they arrived in Xi'an. Jingguang regretted never leaving the demonic cult in his past life. The world outside was so beautiful. So if anyone tried to escape, he would personally go after them. Seeing that everyone agreed to join the battle, Jingguang called the Lord to inspect the results. If there are any questions, feel free to send a letter. He could find them all. No one believed that he could take control over so many people. Then Jingguang assigned them their duties. He could accurately name each person, even their hometowns. He has other matters. The Lord had to agree for the sake of the future. Then Jingguang gathered everyone. He knew everyone there wanted to escape. But that's okay. The Lord thinks they should receive quite a bit of blessing for eliminating the bandits, but we're still asking him for so many fees. We hope they can give us some discounts. Jingguang can only ensure that those people won't cause trouble afterwards. It doesn't matter if they don't agree. I didn't expect they'd even charge for the ropes used to tie up the bandits. There are also a lot of other inexplicable fees, Jingguang said. As a disciple of Kunlun, he doesn't charge public fees from others. Unexpectedly, Jingguang brought someone along. Jingguang explained that his junior disciple understands market prices very well. He then handed over something for the Lord to look at first. The Lord saw that it was a detailed request list. He already had a bad feeling. At that moment, Jingguang warned them to mind their behavior. They should know the consequences if they go too far. Everyone became very humble. The Lord learned that the boy in the letter was him. He had his subordinates invite him alone. He has prepared a banquet to welcome them. During the banquet, the Lord kept thanking the people from below Kunlun. Only then did he learn they were here to go to the battlefield. The people in the manor all felt these people didn't seem trustworthy. It seemed like they might start a fight at any moment. He then told the leader to follow him. He would teach him some practical martial arts. Thus, they arrived in Gansu. The Lord of Gansu had already been attacking the city gate for some time. The Lord of Qinghai has already informed him of the news. He didn't even know the old man's name, but the old man's face was covered in scars. Jingguang didn't expect that he knew nothing at all. It seemed that something had happened within the evil sect, but he no longer wanted to get involved. Then we can't let him live. The leader said it wasn't like that, and revealed everything. As a child, he saved an old man, and in return, he was taught martial arts. There's always that skill. The leader stated it is a family martial art. Jingguang remarked that it is a technique of the demonic sect. Could he be from one of the 7 great families of the demonic sect? If that's the case, the leader has woken up. Only his subordinate is lying beside him. Jin Guang indicated that the person just fainted. Don't delude yourself into thinking someone will come to save him. It's best to answer honestly. Jin Guang recognized this move. In that moment of distraction, he was already restrained. Then the leader approached him with a knife. At the moment of the strike, it emitted a dazzling light. Uncertain how long had passed, he might have no choice but to use that skill. The old man once told him not to use this move recklessly. If recognized, his life may be at risk. At the same time, he used his skill. Although it's similar, it doesn't seem to be the boy. He feels his appearance doesn't look like a good guy, so he purposely designed a likable look for him. The bandit leader knows he hasn't won. Jin Guang didn't expect him to be able to endure this much. He was actually quite interested in seeing how his attacks worked. The leader knew it was a matter of life and death. He had to use that move. Jin Guang doesn't know why the other person would use this move. Jin Guang could only agree. Then the leader was sent flying. Jin Guang thought it would be best for him to give up, but the leader said he would not yield, no matter how many punches he took. And so countless fists struck his body. Now he could follow him to Gansu. The leader thought he was dreaming, told him not to evade, fight him properly. No choice. He laughed out loud and attacked him directly, but no matter what, he couldn't land a hit. Instead, his hair and beard were shaved off. Jin Guang thought this style suited him better. If Kunlun dares to stand in our way, we'll wipe them out together. At that moment, someone appeared at the door. His men said it was a Taoist from Kunlun. Jin Guang heard he was looking for their leader. The leader asked why the recent goods had decreased significantly. The subordinate replied it was because the merchant caravans had changed their route. Also, the backer behind them is Kunlun. The leader didn't care about that. He decided to gather his men. These people were too weak. They might not be very useful on the battlefield. Then he asked the junior brother if there were any stronger villains nearby. Upon learning of a powerful bandit camp, he prepared to head towards another nearby camp. When those in power care about reputation, the powerless will suffer. Just as they approached Gansu, the team had grown to over 500 people. Jin Guang felt this was still not enough. It has never harmed ordinary people. The junior disciple asked, "Aren't you afraid that Jin Guang will affect the reputation of the sect?" The master said, "Kunlun never cares about false fame. If the people are bullied, he will come again to teach them a lesson." This is the first lesson that Jin Guang teaches the junior disciple. The master said, although Jin Guang's plan is somewhat rough, Jin Guang thinks that as long as he stops others from coming, it will be fine. Then he led the bandits into a room. Not long after, they sincerely reformed. Jin Guang will take some of them with him. The remaining ones must guard the territory. He kicked the gate open. Just like that, he eliminated all 4 major villains of Signing. But the little junior brother felt that this might be bad for the common people. Once the other villains find out, they will definitely come here. New competition will inevitably harm the people. But the other party did not have the necessary strength. Hearing this, Jin Guang came up with a good ideas. He let the person he had captured follow him. Then the people following the Lord arrived at the snake den. Jin Guang didn't say much. To stay here, he spent a lot to clear the way, because he just wants to enjoy life with his wife. Jin Guang asked if there really were no other candidates. Actually, if the Lord of Gansu could earn military merits, it would work. He then reluctantly took off a ring from his hand. If this is pawned, it would be 20 times the value of the silver notes. If it went for the higher-ups wanting him to enter the palace for treatment, he could have offered even more. However, Jin Guang felt it was too little. It should be at least 10 times more than this. It seems the other party is poorer than expected. After hearing this, the Lord decided to give him something else, and cleared the snow from the Tangular Mountains. The government rewards them to recognize his achievements, but everyone feels a bit uncomfortable. Wearing new clothes, then the Lord personally rewarded him with a bag of silver notes. They cannot accept gifts. The Lord comes not for personal reasons. But because of official matters, Jingguang has cultivated the Kaidam Basin, eliminated bandits in the Yellow River Valley. It was Jingguang who saved his wife. The Lord has always wanted to properly thank them, but for some reason, they seem unwilling to meet him. The master uncle expressed that as monks, a person dressed as an official appeared at the door. They didn't expect the Lord of Qinghai to come. He even warmly addressed Jingguang as his nephew. Jin Guangming is clearly an orphan. It turns out the Lord's wife was seriously ill 2 years ago. Thus, he became a Taoist. He never expected to join Kunlun for this reason. Jingguang told him not to overthink it. Just follow him from now on, just as everyone was getting ready to set off. Wanted to become a Taoist priest. When asked why he wanted to join Kunlun, he initially wanted to say something noble, but his martial uncle hoped he would speak his true thoughts. In reality, after seeing Jingguang's martial arts, he felt it was too tough. His martial uncle asked if he had anything left to say. Yang Chuzi stated that he and the Zhou family would no longer target the 100 Families merchant group. Everyone was cheering. Kunlun is amazing. The second young master thought he would have a day like that too. The boy, despite his mother's objections, Yang Chuzi didn't expect him to use a sword. When he regained consciousness, he didn't know how much time had passed. Yang Chuzi realized he had already lost, but this didn't mean that Kong Tong had lost too. But he couldn't land a hit on him. This completely enraged him. He immediately unleashed his strongest demon-slaying sword technique. Jingguang found the name of the technique laughable. The only one who can make the demonic cult surrender is oneself. Jingguang thought this was more interesting. Yang Chuzi didn't expect the boy to be so terrifying. He didn't know why he felt so threatened by the boy. It felt like a demonic presence. He thought it was just an illusion. Unexpectedly, before he finished speaking, the opponent had already attacked. The speed and strength of the young man left him astonished. By the last move, he was already behind him. And then with one punch, he broke his weapon. Let the other side come at him. Yang Chusu suggested that he might as well draw his sword. Jingguang, however, felt it wouldn't be necessary. Seeing this, Yang Chusu didn't want to bully the weak. He decided to let the opponent have 3 moves. They can look down on the resolution of this matter. Yang Suzai made them swear in the name of Kunlun. They must not back out. He will also take action in the name of Kongtong. It just so happens that Jingguang didn't proceed earlier. Yang Chuchi would not give up so easily. His disciple has already been beaten like this. I don't know how Kunlun teaches its disciples. The master uncle indicates that they are actually from the Jingguang sect. If they don't believe it, such skill and precision, they didn't even need to draw their sword. Not long after, Zhou Huangshu fainted. The historical records show that the outcome was decided. I hope the other side keeps their promise. This is exactly what Zhou Huangshu wanted. Everyone then headed outside the tent. Without saying much, Zhou Huangshu attacked first, but couldn't even land a hit. The uncle master couldn't agree, because the Zhou family had attacked their disciple. Since they couldn't satisfy both sides, the uncle master suggested they have a competition. Let's resolve this from the root of the issue. They must have been threatened by those people. Starlight didn't expect him to distrust even his own people. Elder Kongtong knew that his disciples' plan had already failed. He said it was their personal matter. He hoped Kunlun wouldn't interfere. Zhou Huangshui was happy to see these people. He secretly told them to say they'd been threatened by the others. That way, he could save them. But they claimed it was the Zhou family who instructed them to attack the Merchant Alliance. Zhou Huangshu had no idea what they were talking about. It was like this until evening. Only then did they meet the Baijia merchant group. At this time, Jingguang walked in. He indicated that people were already on their way. It was the same people he had dealt with from the Zhou family before. They can only entertain them properly for now. On the other hand, Yang Chuzai didn't know what they were waiting for. Zhou Huangshui said that the people from Kunlun would soon go to Henan. They would wait until they left before it was convenient to act. Zhou Huangshui didn't expect these people to be so disrespectful. He could only wait obediently at the back. At this moment, the master uncle discovered someone even more troublesome. Yang Chuzai, the elder of the Kongtong sect. He didn't expect Kongtong to come here so openly. Life in Kunlun isn't so boring. At this moment, the Zhou family arrived with a group of people. The leader stated that he is Zhou Wangshui, a disciple of the Kongtong sect's lay disciples. But no matter who he is, he must queue behind them. But it was just a group of women. Seeing this, Bai Zhenwan didn't know what to think. His master told him that these people are part of the Jin Guang's guardians. Thanks to these people, and so they spent the night like this. Nothing happened. When they were about to go out to eat, the master uncle noticed that quite a few people had come outside. I thought it was the Zhao family. The second young master thought maybe he wasn't talented enough after all. Otherwise the uncle wouldn't have rejected himself. The Taoist priest felt he wasn't that bad. He had been an old demon for 19 years. He really needed a junior apprentice to serve him. Jingguang said you can secretly eat meat, but if you're caught drinking, you'd be locked up for 6 months. The second young master asked what would happen if he was with a girl. Jingguang piqued his curiosity. He told him to become a Taoist and find out. He was worried he had no reason to teach the other person a lesson. Seeing him so impressive, the boy also wanted to join the Kunlun sect. But he doesn't really want to become a Taoist priest, because then he wouldn't be able to do anything. He didn't expect to have such a brother. Shuji didn't know how to deal with his sister. He turned and ran away. He was just gently pushed by someone. He went along with it, lying down and shouting. He directly refused. The wet nurse didn't expect him to treat his own son like this. Even if he can't join, why can't he say it nicely? It was like this 19 years ago. He set up a night watch. The second young master asked if there were any outer disciples in Kunlun. Jingguang isn't sure either. Let him ask his master uncle. The master uncle didn't wait for him to speak. They cannot violate this order, but they also cannot do anything wrong. So they will help the merchants. Until the very end, the uncle instructed someone to keep watch at night to prevent an ambush. His martial uncle asked if they had gotten any information out of them. Jin Guang said they were planning to take over the Baek family's trade group before Kunlun could intervene. Baek Yonghuan thought this might involve an airdrop. His martial uncle and the others left. The elder instructed them not to do anything that would damage the reputation of Kunlun. He was acting in self-defense. We have no choice but to strike back. After returning home, everyone was shocked by how despicable the opponent was. Baek Yonghuan thanked Jin Guang again for his help. The wet nurse instantly understood. She also shouted that the Zhou family was attacking. Everyone felt that this scene was remarkably familiar. At that moment, Jin Guang stood up. He claimed that they acted first. Just as he was about to say something, Jin Guang was already in front of him. Frightened, the leader instinctively pushed him away. Jin Guang unexpectedly fell to the ground. Then he shouted loudly. He asked how to deal with the subordinates who got injured. Jin Guang said they were already lying on the ground when he arrived. The leader didn't expect the righteous disciples to act like this. He needed to stay alert. He knew he wasn't a match for her. He quickly revealed his identity. Jin Guang looked at him and didn't see him as a good person. He seemed more like a bandit. The leader didn't understand why he judged by appearances. Right after that, the wet nurse arrived, asking if her son was hurt. The leader didn't know what was happening. Everything happened so quickly. Suddenly, he recognized that the person in front of him was Zhen Yoru from Kunlun. They were quickly captured. They were about to cripple the second young master's arms. Just as they were about to strike, Jingguang arrived. He stepped between them. The second young master didn't know what he was doing, and instinctively shook him off. Unexpectedly, the man shouted that the Bai family was assaulting him. This gave the other side a reason to start a fight, due to the difference in numbers. But he was continuously mocked. Seeing him endure so much, the leader signaled his men to act. One of them stepped forward and grabbed the other's arm. The second young master had a conflict with the Zhou family's escort agency. Jin Guang learned that it was the wet nurse's second son. He decided to go with them. At this time, the second young master was already surrounded. He wanted to reason with them, but she couldn't be certain yet. After encountering the killers last time, they discovered a traitor. After the interrogation, it was learned that the incident was caused by the Zhou family from Kong Tong's women. At this moment, someone came in and said that something had happened. I didn't expect it to be completely intact. He really liked this gift. Then he asked about who their leader was, but no one knew. He thought the bandits wouldn't just stop at harsh words. The nurse suspected the Kong Tong sect. The wet nurse shyly took out a gift. She thought Jin Guang would definitely like it. She made a piece of clothing from the tail Jin Guang had given her earlier. Its durability is the best in the world. Jin Guang used his 3 layers of inner strength to strike. The master decided to investigate first before making any decisions. Then, he let Jin Guang stay here and drink with his friends. The wet nurse didn't expect him to grow this much. Jin Guang hoped they could have a normal conversation. He clearly remembered what the wet nurse used to look like. The master understood the other party's intention. However, they from Kunlun could not get involved in the merchants' competition. Bai Zhenhuan stated that if that were the case, he wouldn't seek help. It was all because the other party had hired bandits to prepare to eliminate them. Jin Guang felt that the other party must lack confidence in winning, so they all returned to their residence together. Then asked for details about what happened. It all started when they opened a shortcut to the western regions. Various small merchants began doing business along the route, but this caused dissatisfaction among the merchants from Gansu. It was his childhood nanny and her husband. The two introduced themselves. They are from the 100 Merchant Guild. They pleaded for help to save the merchants in Qinghai. The team leader's uncle saw that Jin Guang knew them, praying with the villagers at every stop. Before they knew it, they reached Sydney. Before entering the city, 2 riders came toward them. Jin Guang didn't expect to meet them. Regardless, he hoped everyone would return safely. For the journey and the agreement with the Peng family, Kunlun sent out disciples. They passed through each village. Elder Chang looked towards the distant golden light. For some reason, he suddenly felt a sense of unease. He could only hope that Shu Qing would take good care of his disciple. But he couldn't shake the feeling that Shu Qing would also become a source of trouble. Naturally, Jin Guang's name came up. He had already enhanced Kunlun's internal strength. Now, it was time to strengthen its external strength as well. For example, in business. 10 days later, everyone was ready to set out. He then gathered everyone in the hall for a meeting, saying they must fulfill the promise made 4 years ago. Jin Guang listened to everyone's discussion and realized that this was what the person meant at the time. At this point, the chief elder expressed that they would select a few people as representatives to go. His own wish could be fulfilled. Jin Guang sheepishly said, "The corpse ancestor really smells bad." And so, another year passed. The head elder received a letter from the Peng family. If he leaves now, it would indeed be too early. He is grateful to Jin Guang for reminding him that he still has many things to do. He hopes to embrace him once more. Jin Guang doesn't understand why he suddenly wants to hug the ancestor of corpses. He said that thanks to his appearance, it should be himself who was angry. The ancestor of corpses suddenly thought of something. Could it be that Jin Guang's thoughts are also the hopes of all the Kunlun disciples? He works so hard to save himself, yet he just wants to leave, but was interrupted. Everyone looked at this in disbelief. Jin Guang never expected the corpse ancestor would want to leave like this. The corpse ancestor didn't know what he was angry about. He was interrupted during his ascension. Everything will return to nothingness. He is very grateful for everyone's efforts on his behalf. At this moment, Jin Guang asks the corpse ancestor where to go. The scene became quite awkward. The corpse ancestor intended to ascend, but he has become much stronger. At the same time, the side effects are a bit unbearable for him. He actually pooped his pants. Regardless, he has seen through life and death. He must expel the turbid energy accumulated over the years. With a loud bang, a strange smell filled the air. Jingguang thought he had succeeded. Although Shizu hadn't regained his martial arts abilities, Jingguang urged the Grandmaster to quickly circulate the Kunlun heart method. He watched as the shattered dantian began to recover. Jingguang finally felt relieved. He asked Shizu to continue. "Don't stop. No matter what, not all efforts will go to waste. Next time, he will seriously consider the taste issue. In fact, taste is secondary. The main concern is his body. The medicinal effect is burning in his dantian." The ancestor felt that this medicine might not cure him, but the whole sect worked so hard for him. Even if it was just to put their minds at ease, he would finish it. However, the taste of this medicine was really hard for him to swallow. Jingguang urged the sect master grandfather to stop him from spitting out the medicine. But everyone wondered why the white had turned black. Jingguang couldn't tell everyone it was because his hands were too dirty. Soon, several people found the ancestor with the pills. Jingguang urged him not to hesitate. Take it quickly, as the flame that burned for 10 months extinguished. They finally completed the first step. The soup before them had turned white. Jingguang wrapped some of it with his true energy and began to refine it. Finally, he created a miraculous pill. In the following days, Jingguang first arrived at the Kaidam Basin, and then came to the banks of the Yellow River to have bandits help him find dragon-scale fish. Next, they rushed to the Tangular Mountains to search for snow ginseng. In the end, they finally gathered all the materials and returned. Elder Chang Jiao felt that they must leave here as soon as possible. However, he was still discovered by Jingguang's intentions. Elder Chang Jiao expressed that he wanted to help those who hadn't returned. Jingguang believed that only he could complete the task of maintaining the fire here. He would go to gather the remaining materials with those people. Only by boiling for 10 months like this will it work. Then he asked the master to try. Shu Qing thought it shouldn't be difficult, but soon he was exhausted. Everyone saw this and thought he couldn't handle the task. They began to boil the dragon horn. Shu Qing reassured them. The firewood will be continuously added, but Jingguang said that wasn't enough. The fire needs to be pushed to the extreme with inner strength. He first asked the corpse ancestor how it was. Upon learning there was nothing unusual, he instructed them to prepare a large pot. He estimated that the materials would need to simmer for 10 months. After everyone was ready to save someone, he cut off the legendary monster's leg. He even forced it to hand over half of its monster core. This trip turned out to be somewhat rewarding. Back to Kunlun. If they wanted it, he could give it to them. The two thought this must be the tale of the bipedal saloon. They didn't expect to receive such a valuable gift. Then Jingguang mentioned he had something urgent to attend to. After saying goodbye, he left the place. Jingguang was meditating in place. He didn't expect them to come searching for him. At that moment, the woman noticed something on the ground. Jingguang explained it was just a lizard's tail. He had no use for it, making it easier for him to come back and get it next time. After packing it up, Jingguang thought about what else he could take. He looked back at the salon. Soon after, the couple finally found Jingguang, but after stabbing for a while, he still couldn't find where it was. He didn't know how much time had passed. Finally, he obtained half of it. Jingguang told him to train his core well. That way it would regenerate. His current strength is just too weak. It made Sharon expose his chest, preparing to take half of his monster core. He reassured him, "Don't be afraid." He kicked the guy away. He needed to teach him a good lesson. No one knows how much time has passed. Before the golden light finally stopped, the previous Sharon wasn't this strong. Completely satisfied, Jingguang, however, asked if he was crazy. To ease the tension, Sharon gave a smile, but Jingguang wasn't buying it, and prepared to leave. Sharon felt that this person had become much weaker than before. Maybe a sneak attack could succeed. This was a good chance to eliminate him. He swallowed it in one gulp. I don't know how long it has been. Finally, he cut off the sharp horn. In order to get this thing, He was disabled for a month. Then he told Sharon not to wander around anymore. He aimed at Salon's feet, but he just couldn't cut through. Maybe he's just too young now. But as long as he keeps chopping, unfortunately, he can't cut through. But he wandered around recklessly, making me search here for a whole month. If you don't want to be punished, it's best not to move around. Starlight doesn't say much either. The golden light made him obediently lower his tail. That aura, Sharon found it strangely familiar, then revealed the head with the broken leg. The golden light was grateful that it had left one leg intact, but escaping wasn't going to be so easy for him. He thrust his sword into the ground. A gigantic creature sprang out from the desert. It was the legendary creature, the two-legged sand dragon. But he looked at the boy in front of him with some fear. At that moment he noticed something. He left this place in an instant, straight to the distance. The golden light kept racing wildly across the desert. He didn't expect that guy to be so troublesome. Jin Guang didn't plan to let anyone go, letting them continue to do evil. Thus, he eliminated all the bandits. The couple was very grateful for his help. Jin Guang said it was just a small effort. They all turned into pieces. The rest, realizing they were no match, chose to run away. When the leader ordered them to come back, he has already met with misfortune. Jin Guang didn't know what he said wrong. Then he disappeared in front of everyone. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the bandits. These people were no match for him at all. With a swift swing of his blade, the bandit leader was furious after being ignored. The boy definitely didn't know who they were. Jin Guang really hadn't heard of them. Just a bunch of petty thieves after all. The enraged leader led the charge. Yet neither of them remembered knowing the boy. Such an unforgettable face. Yet he didn't remember that they had once been his caretakers. Hearing this, the two finally remembered that expression. Jin Guang said, "Head drink." After dealing with the trouble. Countless sword energies filled the sky. And as the smoke dispersed, the sand bandits were completely annihilated. Then, a figure descended from the sky. Jin Guang didn't expect to meet an acquaintance in such a desolate place. The sand bandit leader sees that the opponent is not an ordinary merchant convoy, so he orders all his men to join the fight. Due to the sheer number of bandits, they fall into a disadvantage, just as the leader orders that none be spared. At this moment, smoke filled the distance. It was the notorious desert bandits. The man orders his subordinates to enter battle modes, protect the household for the time being. Both sides are caught in a melee, and became nannies. They met an adorable child named Jin Guang. Today, their caravan has slowly grown, but their love for each other hasn't changed. This made others envious. 17 years ago, the couple sought Kunlun's brother for help, but they were refused due to more pressing matters in the Kunlun sect. At that time, a Taoist brought a baby to them, hoping to teach them how to care for the child. As a result, they gave up seeking help. They urged Jin Guang to pay attention to his safety. After bidding them farewell, Jin Guang left Kunlun. This was his first journey since being reincarnated. He would return as soon as possible. He would also go out to search for materials. Seeing that the two insisted on sending someone to follow him, Jin Guang could only showcase his martial arts. The sect leader felt that having someone follow him would indeed be beneficial. The two exchanged glances. They must complete it within the limited time. After hearing this, the elder leader expressed that they believe Jin Guang can handle it. This situation made Jin Guang feel a bit awkward. 3 days later, Jin Guang divided them into 3 groups. They can create it themselves. Although the refining process is not simple, they still have to give it a try. The master ancestor can now only maintain less than a year of life, so they at Kunlun need to go out and search. It just requires a magical pill, but they at Kunlun don't have those things at all. The elder of the Long sect doesn't know if they can obtain it from other sects. Jin Guang indicated that it is a type of pill from the demon sect. As long as the materials are available, Shu Qing hurriedly asked if his disciple was okay. "Make sure not to wear yourself out. He has already done his best," Jin Guang indicated. He found a way to cure the lost ancestor. The scene of Jin Guang fainting that day was still vivid in his mind. After waking up and instructing to continue supplying true qi to the ancestral master, he entered the scripture pavilion. He felt that Jin Guang was pushing him too hard. At this moment, Jin Guang walked out of the room. He wanted to master all the medical techniques. The chief elder told Shu Qing not to worry too much. He said that Jin Guang had been eating the food they sent. Besides, the corpse ancestor had also regained inner peace. Shu Qing was not only worried about his master, and he directly passes out. He lost consciousness. A week passed just like that. Jin Guang locked himself in the scripture pavilion. He didn't want anyone to disturb him. He doesn't care if they understand or not. Then he endures the pain from the misstep. He begins to repair the damaged dantian. As the last fragment falls into place, the golden light can no longer hold. Jin Guang explained that he had not touched the founder. He only used steam to strike the hui acupoint, causing the skin to bulge, because that's where most of the steam escapes. No one expected Jin Guang to act like this. Jin Guang urged the elder to quickly transfer internal energy to the founder, to prevent the founder's energy from dissipating too quickly. He resorted to this desperate measure. The master suspected that the founder had already been killed by him. Master wanted to help too, but he was ignored. Once everything was arranged, the golden light was fully gathered. Power suddenly struck the ancestor's head. He asked the elders to help support Shizu. Then he urged Shizu not to give up. "You must stay clear-headed. He won't harm the ancestor." Then everyone kept channeling inner power to the ancestor. Jin Guang said that his master once told him to be someone who is always true to their beliefs. Shizu never expected that a 2-year-old child could remember those words. At this moment, Jin Guang realized he should stop. The loss of his vital energy was faster than before. In his previous life, he didn't have this feeling when his father passed away. He then asked the master ancestor to wait for him for a year. He is sure he can do it. He keeps channeling true energy into the master ancestor. Everyone advised him not to do this. He then asked the ancestral master if he had any wishes left. The master ancestor expressed his desire to see Kunlun unleash the true dragon again. He believes that Jin Guang can certainly achieve this. Reflecting on this, Jin Guang felt the old man's care for him. Jin Guang felt as if something had been taken from him. After all, no one can defy the laws of nature. Seeing Jin Guang standing silently behind him, the ancestral master asked if something was troubling Chang Jiao. The elder suggested that it would be better for them to speak up quickly. Jin Guang didn't expect the old man to still be worried about others at this time. Just a while ago, Jin Guang was still happy about resolving his physical issue. He didn't expect to receive news of the ancestor's critical condition at the same time. He and his master hurried back to visit the ancestral master. They wanted to tell him not to be too sad. The old man still had one last wish before he passed. The boy, to prevent him from having any regrets, smashed something directly onto his head. Everyone thought he had gone mad, but the boy said he was extending the old man's life. The two of them quickly rushed back. Although Jin Guang was aware of his grandmaster's health issues, he hadn't paid much attention. When they returned, many people urged Jin Guang to enter the house quickly. His grandmaster had been waiting for his return. He didn't know why these memories suddenly came to him. Just then, his master's voice interrupted his thoughts. Seeing his master's condition, he hurriedly asked what had happened. He was told that something had happened to his grandmaster. He spent 4 years, and now he's finally resolved the trouble. At this moment, he looked at the distant hut and recalled the past. That old man was really kind to him, but the grandmaster just wanted to enjoy the scenery of Kunlun. At this time, Jin Guang was cultivating alone on the back mountain. After so much effort, his internal energy finally reached balance. Because of what happened before, the sect leader and elders were pleased to see Kunlun's progress. 4 years ago, he and his senior brother made the right decision. At this moment, the Grandmaster came over and said he no longer needed to worry about anything. The junior brother noticed he kept coughing during the conversation, so he advised him to go back and rest well. Jin Guang thought he might have other motives, and so the two left Kunlun. Time flew by. Another 2 years passed. The disciples of Kunlun did not slack off for a single day, and referred to him as a master. Jin Guang asked him to drop the master part. Hearing this, Kang Wei felt less burdened. He earnestly asked Jin Guang to join the martial alliance at Kunlun and come together. He promised to repay Jin Guang for the help he received. Hearing this, Jin Guang didn't know what else he had to say, seeing his nephew so persistent. The two of them left the room. After the uncle left, Kang Wei thanked Jin Guang. Jin Guang said he should be coming soon. Not long after, Kang Wei really arrived. Seeing Kang Wei arrive, Jin Guang wanted to sleep a bit more, but Kang Wei asked his uncle to let him talk to Jin Guang alone. Her nephew was nowhere to be found. She thought he must have gone to look for Jin Guang. Then they asked Shu Qing where his disciple was. Afterwards, they found Jin Guang. They asked if he'd seen Kang Wei. She was preparing to leave Kunlun. She said that next time they'd have a proper drink with Shu Qing. Shu Qing told her not to talk nonsense. They have rules to follow. When she returned to her place, the master replied that they have already trained for 2 years, and they also have the golden light. That will help them wholeheartedly, and that's how Peng Suyuan gained support. But how long will it take to realize? Peng Suyuan said that for many schools, at least 3 years are needed. The master said that they must work harder within these 3 years. The junior brother wondered if raising the difficulty now would be too much. In return, they will send experts here to help. This way, when dealing with the demon sect, they can reduce casualties. The head and elders think it's a good plan. After thinking it over, he gave up, leaving this place. The head and elder of the other side finally understood the purpose of the Peng family's visit. The Peng family wants Kunlun's support to become the leader of the martial world. Even without shouting, it would still succeed. Since the problem was solved, he planned to go back and make a bet. He didn't know what benefits he would gain from it. This was the moment Jin Guang had been waiting for. He immediately stepped forward and threw another punch at Kang Wei. With a cracking sound, Kang Wei let out a long howl towards the sky. Jin Guang thought his reaction was a bit exaggerated. Jin Guang advised him to give up if he couldn't continue. After all, he's one of the 4 dragons of Kowloon. How could he be afraid? He struggled to stand up, shouting that he wasn't a coward. At this moment he faced inner resistance again. Jin Guang told him not to fear the pain. Break through in one go. Conway wanted to grit his teeth, but spat out a mouthful of blood, and his energy and blood flow felt much smoother. Then Jin Guang urged him to continue practicing his technique, but Kang Wei didn't understand why he had to do it this way. Without looking at the other person's face, he also knew he was enjoying the fight. The energy and blood within him began to surge and block. Jin Guang seized the opportunity and threw a punch. Kang Wei was surprised. The pain in his chest had surprisingly disappeared. He focuses his attention. As one of the 4 phoenixes of 9 dragons, Peng Kang Wei can do anything, but for some reason, he keeps hitting his head. He suspects the other party is deliberately teasing him when he can no longer endure it. But he was struck hard on the head by a boy. He was clearly doing as requested by the other party, yet he was told that he completely couldn't control his energy. It's just mindlessly increasing internal energy. The golden light slows him down. It seems that the Peng family is indeed interested in the leader of the ruling alliance. They came here to gain support from Kunlun. Peng Suzhuan admitted that this is true, but they will also provide corresponding help to Kunlun. The young man was seriously practicing his skills. The martial alliance disbanded, but recently they've received intelligence on the actions of villains. Moreover, they have formed a group called the Demonic Alliance. The Grandmaster felt that the common people will suffer again after hearing this. The Chief Elder thinks this isn't something that would make him come personally. After dodging a fatal blow again, the head elder asked how Kunlun's martial arts were. Peng Suyuan said that she learned a lot from the sparring. The second reason she came is about rebuilding the martial alliance. After Tianmo died, Peng Suyuan had never seen such an absurd action, but the opponent was always able to block his attacks. Shu Ji didn't expect Jin Guang's advice to be so practical. As long as he stays focused, he shouldn't miss. He didn't know why he remembered this, but Jin Guang taught him. He did not forget to add more random movements to confuse the enemy. If the opponent chose to retreat, then close the distance and launch an attack. Jin Guang also said this to him before. During training, Jin Guang told him not to reveal his moves. At the time, he thought it was unreasonable. He should tell his master. He didn't expect that his senior brother had already collapsed nearby. Let Shu Ji face the challenge. With that, everyone made way for them. Feng Suyuan thought that since this person was chosen, they must be very strong. He suggested that they shouldn't reveal their moves. They all want to test the results of the past 2 years. The head elder thought they were being too rude. Then he asked the senior brother, who he thought was suitable, to go up. The master indicated that the child can take the stage. Elder Zhang understood what the senior brother meant. The head elder thinks the second matter must also be related to this, because it's a serious issue. Peng Suyuan hopes everyone won't misunderstand. No one felt displeased. The Taoist felt his suggestion was timely. At first, he wanted to learn martial arts from Kunlun. Shu Qing thought he could have asked her instead. No need to trouble others, but Peng Suyuan wanted a real battle. Hearing this, everyone began to discuss. Everyone warmly greeted him. Their enthusiasm made Peng Suyuan feel uncomfortable. Fortunately, the sect leader intervened. He asked why Peng Suyuan had come to Kunlun. Peng Suyuan replied, "The key is how good Kunlun's martial arts are." He introduced himself to the two, saying he was from the Peng family's ancestor. The two warmly welcomed him. At this moment, the elders returned from training. They hadn't expected someone from the Hebei Peng family to be here. In the past 2 years, he has never been absent to improve for everyone, because he promised his master to strengthen Kunlun. The two then arrived at the Kunlun Hall. Peng Suyuan felt that it was becoming increasingly dilapidated. It doesn't matter. Meanwhile, Shu Qing asked how Kang Wai's injury was. Peng Suyuan felt that it was not a big deal. It was just a broken rib. Shu Qing apologized for his disciple. He stated that he usually behaves well. Jin Guang couldn't explain clearly. He just said he could see it very clearly. Kang Wei was puzzled why the elders couldn't tell. Jin Guang knew she wouldn't believe him, so he asked Kang Wei to go to the martial arts training ground with him. That fool had to complicate things. Angry, Jin Guang called him back. He asked if he wanted to know about the blocked vital energy. Kang Wei didn't expect that he could actually know what she was thinking, so she asked him how he did it. He doesn't even like himself. He immediately apologized to Jin Guang. He was ready to leave. Actually, if he just asked, Jin Guang would tell him the answer. Kang Wei knew the other person was right. He was curious and wanted to be friends with Jin Guang. Sadly, that boy did not want that at all. All along, that killing intent reminded Kang Wei of the demonic cult. He just wanted to be friends with Jin Guang. Hearing this, Jin Guang realized he had misunderstood. Even so, he wouldn't become friends with him, because Kang Wei must have other intentions, hoping to get close to him as well. As soon as he said that, Jin Guang was so startled that he stepped back repeatedly. Kang Wei quickly explained that he spoke too hastily. Jin Guang told him not to say anything more. He feels the world is too unfair. Jin Guang tells him not to misunderstand. These people have known him since he was a baby. Seeing the other party about to leave, Kang Wei blocked the way. The others had no idea where this wild kid came from, daring to interfere with them. Kang Wei has no idea what this sect is all about. He never expected there would be so many women in the temple. He was completely ignored. He was even pushed aside. He knew Jin Guang would definitely be here, but he didn't know where a group of women had come from. Even someone as skilled as him didn't notice these people. He hoped everyone would give way to him. He needed to find Jin Guang. He was very happy. After being looked down upon by his nephew, he seemed to be less restless. After the uncle left, Kang Wei arrived at the training ground by himself, but after seeing Uncle's expression, he just apologized to Uncle, expressing that he always makes him worry. Then Uncle was going to meet Elder Kunlun, telling Kang Wei not to run around. Many people were waiting for a chance to hurt him. He couldn't let anyone know his true energy was blocked. Even his uncle hadn't noticed. How did Jin Guang know? He wanted to say something, and even hit that spot precisely. His uncle warned him to be more careful in the future. After all, this is just the cue. Conway knew his uncle was right. His family was all supporting his brother. Peng Kangwai finally woke up. His uncle told him to rest well, not to move around. Kangwai didn't know how Jin Guang discovered his blocked chi. Peng Suan was curious how he got his nephew to fall asleep. Jin Guang didn't understand. He couldn't figure out the reason. He could only say that his nephew might really just be tired. Another day passed just like that. He regretted not stepping in to stop it in time. At that moment, the sound of snoring could be heard. He felt so embarrassed. He told them not to talk to him. Shu Qing said if it were him, he'd also lose his mind. It was only then that the uncle reacted and rushed forward to catch him. Kang Wei said he was really tired. After saying that, he went still. He never expected his nephew would pass away in front of him. He was still standing there. Actually, his uncle was scared by Jin Guang. Maybe Shu Qing didn't lie to him. This child is truly a once-in-a-century genius. At this moment, Jin Guang's punch sent Kang Wei flying again. Since that's the case, then it must be trickery. Otherwise the other side will attack endlessly. Master begged not to hear the sound of bones breaking again. Jin Guang looked at Kang Wei's uncle. Angrily, he charged at Jin Guang again. But no matter what, he couldn't hit him. Jin Guang no longer wanted to spar with him. He thought breaking the opponent's leg should end the practice. The master sent a message telling him not to go too far. He would only use 3 layers of power. But the master insisted he couldn't use even 2 layers. The first level of skill is already very dangerous. Listening to their conversation, Conway felt completely underestimated. So Jin Guang should use all his strength in the lineup, because he will counterattack with 3 layers of inner power. Hearing that he would use inner power, Shu Qing firmly opposed it. Jin Guang reassured his master. A powerful punch came crashing down on him. Peng Kang, a direct descendant of a prestigious family, a role model among the young of the 9 dragons and 4 phoenixes, was unexpectedly being beaten unilaterally here. His pride wouldn't allow such a thing to happen, but Jin Guang blocked his punch with just a finger. Then he was punched and flew out, and the golden light did not stop. Immediately following that, he had to grit his teeth. Jin Guangxin couldn't stand this orthodox approach. Every time, he had to showcase his own moves. There was no choice. He said he would use the cloud-chasing fist. Seeing the other person's expression, Kang Wei got so angry that he rushed forward. Chu Jin said his concern was exactly Kang Wei. Jin Guang couldn't remember how long it had been since he fought with anyone. He just trained every day. It's really boring. At this moment, Kang Wei said he would practice with the Overlord Fist. Unexpectedly, Jin Guang agreed to the request. After that, the group went outside. Chu Qing seemed a bit uneasy. Peng Suwan reassured him. Kang Wei knows his limits. Kang Wei then expressed his desire to experience Kunlun martial arts firsthand. Shu Qing responded, saying since that's the case, he would grant both of their requests. But Kang Wei only wanted to spar with Jin Guang in a literary debate. Shu Qing advised him to think carefully. He wanted the other person to understand what society is like. Uncle inquired through a voice transmission about what he wanted to do. Kang Wai returned, wanting to see how strong Kunlun martial arts truly are. In fact, his uncle had the same thought, so he advised his nephew to be careful not to hurt the opponent. In fact, he just doesn't want to be a vegetarian. He just wants to eat meat. When Jingguang looked up, he found the other person was staring at him. He didn't expect that just speaking the truth would anger the other party. Peng Kangwai felt that the young man in front of him had too little experience. That compared to the people here, Jingguang is completely living in two different worlds. The people here eat like wolves and tigers. Only one young man is gentle and refined. They all feel that he is different from others, but Shu Qing didn't mind at all. They have already started eating. Shu Qing told them not to be polite, because everyone eats like this. Peng Suan noticed. The next day, Shu Qing invited them to dine together. Peng Kangwai asked how anyone could eat such grass. His uncle told him to mind his words and manners, and quickly apologized to the others. Peng Suan said they were a bit tired from the long journey. After returning to the room, the two fell silent. They were both wondering where Jingguang was truly a genius. If we test it, we might be able to know Kunlun's current strength. Shu Qing was about to explain what had just happened. Everything started with his discovery of the baby on the mountain. The two didn't know why they needed to start from there. Shu Qing felt that starting from there might make it hard for them to understand. They can call him Zhen Yulong. Jingguang hurriedly bowed and introduced himself. The two returned the bow, feeling puzzled. What exactly is so special about this child? After Jingguang left first, they then asked Shu Qing what exactly was happening. Shu Qing said before explaining, he is going to introduce someone, the greatest genius in history, his disciple. At that moment, a roar echoed from a distance. The elders of the sect soared into the sky, muttering their techniques as they passed over the two. Then, a generation of disciples rushed out, leaving the two completely bewildered. Then she inquired if Shu Qing also had disciples. Hearing this, Shu Qing felt very proud, because his disciple is a genius among geniuses. Comparing to the four phoenixes of Julong, he is the true dragon. They had known each other for a while. He hurriedly invited them in for a detailed talk. Shu Qing asked who the young man following was. Peng Suan introduced him as her nephew. He is one of the younger generation known as the Four Phoenixes of Julong. Then the young Taoist who greeted them went inside to report that there were visitors. Quan Wai asked the gatekeeper if it was tough working here. To his surprise, the young Taoist said this place was a paradise. Not long after, Shu Qing came running out from inside. It turned out they were friends. Then they finally arrived at Kunlun sect, hoping to meet the Kunlun leader. He introduced himself as Peng Su Yuan from the Peng family. At this moment, another young Taoist walked over from behind, indicating that it was time for a shift change. Kang Wai felt that he hadn't said anything wrong. Such a biased place. Their martial arts must not be very good either. If he could defeat a Taoist of the same age, his uncle would definitely look at him in a new light. If he keeps speaking carelessly, he will tell everything to his father. If it weren't for his elder brother's request, he would have come here on his own. His elder brother is too indulgent. It makes this son full of arrogance. The young man's name is Peng Kangwai. He doesn't know why he has come to such a remote countryside. I still have to seek help from this broken sect. Uncle told him not to talk nonsense. They have already entered Kunlun territory. It's about how to make Kunlun even stronger. Jingguang stated that there is indeed a simple way. 2 more years passed like this. An old man and a young man ascended Kunlun. They are from the Peng family in Hebei. Is not a good thing. It will take some time to restore balance. At the moment of reflection, the ancestor found Jingguang with his junior brother. They have a question they would like Jingguang to help with her. Moreover, the golden light also gained an enhancement in internal energy. A few days later, Jingguang made a request to the elder Sui. He refused to make a second request, because his true energy exceeded the balance. such a magnitude. This made his stomach start to feel very uncomfortable. He finally understood the strange expression on the Sword Saint's face back then. Just when he could no longer hold back the urge to vomit, he returned all of his internal energy back. And then, a miraculous thing happened. When Jin Guang began trying to spin his inner strength, he found it wasn't as simple as he thought. He remembered how the Sword Saint spun. The internal energy grew larger like a rolling snowball, so he accelerated the speed of his rotation. He accepted the challenge from the other party. He remembered that person was constantly spinning his weapon. Maybe now he could give it a try. If it really doesn't work, he would have no choice but to accept. In fact, the boy didn't know this would happen either. He just wanted to stop the elders from sacrificing themselves in vain. Relying on memories from his past life, he remembered the Wudang Taiji Sword Saint from back then. At the time, out of boredom, the elder intended to enhance the boy's cultivation by consuming his lifespan. Instead, his own wrinkles disappeared. He even grew some hair. Although the elders didn't know what had happened, they all wanted the boy to help them regain their youth as well. He originally wanted to learn martial arts and leave Kunlun, but he can't accept it if it's in this way. He must return the internal energy as soon as possible. Jin Guang recalled memories from his previous life. Finally, he thought of a solution. The four of them wanted to do something meaningful with their limited time. Then they started channeling their energy towards the golden light. The golden light finally understood what they were doing. They were preparing to transfer all their inner energy to him. The price will be the lifespans of these people. He expressed that they had always been too selfish. They have prepared something better than pills. Huanuo and a few elders sat down. The Grandmaster told him not to move. Stay alert. The next day, the elders called him again. Helpless, he could only prepare to start Today's discussion. But the elders only wanted to take him to one place. Jin Guang didn't know what these old men were up to again, so he was taken back to the main hall. The elders looked at each other in dismay, because they didn't possess such miraculous things. In the end, they could only apologize to Jin Guang once more before leaving. Jin Guang forgot that the sect was very poor. He actually behaved like a child. Jin Guang stated that his health had already been affected. Only then did the elders realize how rude they had been. To compensate himself, Jin Guang asked them to give him something. Specifically, pills that could enhance his inner strength. The place where Jin Guang stays at night is bustling with people. The old men hope to guide their martial arts. Jin Guang feels that these old men have more energy than he does. He is already exhausted by these people. The elders tell Jin Guang not to worry about their health. Kunlun's martial arts also regressed because of this. If another person like the Sky Demon were to appear, Kunlun may be finished. Their only hope now is Jin Guang. The elders indeed feel this way. Instead, they change themselves for some reason. Jin Guang didn't expect the elders would reflect in front of the children. Perhaps this is the achievement that only major events can bring. At this moment, someone remembered it was all because of the Sky Demon. Their leader had met with misfortune because of it. They will laugh at them to death. His junior brother said, "What if they laugh? He will still maintain that impressive image." Everyone knows he hasn't changed at all from young to now. That smile was always on his face. When he first entered Kunlun, he also thinks the people here are really cool. His junior brother supports this view as well. The elders believe that the trend should not say such things if outsiders find out, so the ancestor and leader keeps getting stronger just to look cool. Why can't Taoists be said to suffer too much? The ancestor didn't expect a child to shake the elder's thoughts. He must speak up to support Jin Guang's viewpoint. He feels that men all hope for the appreciation of others. That wasn't because his energy was overflowing after enlightenment, but to attract others to watch him. The crowd gained insight during that moment. Has the true energy changed? The elders were left speechless. Listen to Jin Guang's thoughts. All the elders are waiting for Jin Guang's response. Jin Guang doesn't know what he did wrong. Their Kunlun sect's martial arts are supposed to be cool. Everyone knows that when the founder attained enlightenment, he roared. This was a blessing for their sect. But the elders became divided over the matter. Jingguangyan looked in confusion at the ancestor of corpses. The ancestor of corpses said to leave everything to him. He told the elders to calm down. They didn't expect the master to show up here. Shizu observed Jin Guang's movements. No hint of malice was felt. He decided to support the boy's approach, and reassured the two not to worry. Seeing that the apprentice had indeed improved his boxing skills, he was excited and felt that the apprentice was a genius. After Jin Guang finished filming, he asked the master if it was cool. At that moment, Shizu appeared saying it was indeed very cool, but he knew his master wouldn't punish him. Indeed, the master felt that his junior was somewhat exaggerating, so he saw it with his own eyes. He didn't believe his disciple would disgrace the school. He then asked his apprentice to practice once more. There were always people asking the boy for martial arts advice. He didn't let up even when it was convenient for him. This made him dream of these old men. It all started when he modified this martial art. He was then confronted by his family for an explanation. Jingguang instinctively answered that they were practicing cloud-chasing fist. Senior brother knew Bu Haolan was in front of Jingguang. The master didn't expect his best disciple to be teaching nonsense to others. Seeing this, Jingguang interrupted their conversation. He explained that it was actually him teaching senior brother. His senior brother felt it was disrespectful to the ancestors, but his body honestly followed along and started practicing. At that moment, a performer interrupted their practice. The person who arrived was senior brother's master. He asked what they were doing. It dispersed like clouds. How could a 13-year-old kid do something like this? He completely changed Kunlun's martial arts. Jingguang smiled and asked if this change would make them stronger. He could teach his senior brother how to train. He thought he could hit the opponent, but it was just a feint. Then, he was hit hard in the back. His senior brother didn't know how the opponent did it. He thought he had caught the golden light. After finishing, the senior brother said, "This is the right way." But Jingguang said he couldn't hit the senior brother at all. He decided to compete using his own boxing style. His senior brother felt that this was wrong. He must make his junior brother understand this. His boxing style is quite different from the school's martial arts. Jingguang said he made some improvements to the boxing technique. The senior brother advised him not to let the elder know. Since that's the case, then use the normal boxing technique for practice. His body instantly became an afterimage. In the next second, he was in front of the senior brother. His fists attacked like a storm. A series of combo strikes followed. The senior brother was very shocked. He hoped they could spar together. The senior brother heard that he is a genius. He wanted to see what kind of talent he truly has, so he let him strike first. Jingguang did not decline. Ever since he learned the Kunlun sect's martial arts, Jingguang has indeed changed a lot. Since the sect's martial arts were lost because of him, he must now recover the original techniques. Afterwards, he found his senior brother practicing martial arts. Just don't go too far. Today, I heard from my senior brother that his subordinates actually launched 7 battles. It also destroyed many martial arts techniques. The senior brothers hope that Jingguang won't turn into someone like the Demon Lord. They said the celestial demon is the source of all evil. He remembers that he hadn't done anything before. At that time his subordinates reported wanting to attack the Kunlun sect. He thought the other side wasn't worth his effort, so he let his subordinates handle it themselves. Jingguang confirmed his thoughts. The Kunlun school's martial arts should be more elegant and magnificent. Why did it seem like his practice was altered by someone? This was what caught his attention from the seniors' conversation. The two were discussing his own performance on the market. He felt that the martial arts he learned were incorrect. He had to find out why this was the case. Then he arrived at the library. His senior brothers thought he was too hard-working. After some small talk, he absorbed everything taught by his grandmaster. This enthusiasm for martial arts made his grandmaster very hopeful. He believed Jin Guang might reach the level of their sect's founder. And so, 5 more years passed. Jin Guang discovered some issues. He was worried others might oppose the idea. The junior brother thought, with Jin Guang's situation, no one would object. Then he asked if the senior brother had already taught him martial arts. Jin Guang's progress in external and internal skills is equally rapid. The Grandmaster quickly informed the junior disciples about it. The elders were all excited when they heard it. They had never seen someone so young reach this level. The junior brother at the door asked if the senior brother would teach the Supreme Azure divine skill. The senior brother said that it's a technique that only elders can practice. Jin Guang has truly surpassed the limit. Such speed can't be judged by normal standards. Seeing the Grandmaster's expression, Jin Guang already knew the answer. He asked when he could learn the Supreme Qing divine art. But there was still one question. He asked the Grandmaster, saying he felt the current mental technique no longer satisfied him. It seems like he's reached a new level. After careful investigation by the Grandmaster, he wanted to pass on some of his insights. So, he had the boy start with the basics. For 3 years, the master taught him everything. The speed of the golden light technique was incredible. He had mastered everything he was taught. Upon hearing this, the ancestral master decided to teach the boy personally. When he brought the boy back again, the ancestral master also acknowledged that the boy was a genius. Previously, the elders doubted whether such a young child should practice. The ancestral master had a broken dantian. They would understand. The martial uncle stepped forward to examine. I didn't expect a 5-year-old to have true energy. The master thinks he is a genius. He should receive better guidance. That his disciple was a genius. The elders thought something big had happened. They said they already knew Jin Guang was a smart kid. Chu Qing insisted he wasn't joking. As long as they checked Jin Guang's dantian, the master couldn't believe it after hearing this. He quickly reached out to check his abdomen. He didn't expect such powerful energy to exist. Jin Guang indicated that he had learned this from his master. Although he couldn't believe it, another year passed just like that. The master felt it was time to teach the golden light technique. Jin Guang asked if it was too advanced for him, since he had already learned the basics and accumulated true energy. But it's no different from the last life. If he learns the martial arts of the Kunlun school, it would be different. At that moment, the master came over and picked him up. Jin Guang asked the master if he could teach him to play the piano. He couldn't just wait for his body to grow up. In that case, he is ready to start practicing. The fastest way is to continue cultivating the heavenly demon god technique. But this might attract endless attacks from the righteous sects. That's how a few years passed. He could finally move freely. But he couldn't avoid ordinary people's hands, let alone practice martial arts. After running for a long time, his body couldn't take it. Even the goats have started to ignore his harassment. If this goes on, will he also become like this? This kind of life is too terrifying. So, I must leave here quickly. Everything here is vegetarian. Moreover, the house is dilapidated. The only thing to do usually is read. He suspects this place is still a martial arts faction. He really can't stand this kind of life. I wonder what would have happened. Actually, he really enjoys this warm, cozy feeling. It's not like before when everyone was so heartless. Before long, he realized he was wrong. Jin Guang greatly admired the elder. No matter who it was, he won them over with virtue, truly worthy of being the victor of the 3 saints of Kunlun. If I had met him in a past life. The boy was puzzled. Why was there a goat here? The disciples explained that they had borrowed the goat for a while. Upon hearing this, Jin Guang felt that this must be his wet nurse. The elder thanked everyone for taking care of the boy, and become a person who persists in doing what's right. He then named him Jin Guang. At this moment, Shu Qing felt the child still wanted them to go back. The disciples should have already brought the wet nurse back. After returning to the sect, who knows what would have happened? It seems that Taishang Loyojun blessed them with this bond. So he had high expectations for the child. The boy thought the elder would say something like becoming the greatest martial artist, but the elder only hoped he would grow up healthy. But in his eyes, the man's martial arts were pretty average. The old man looked at the child, who was so well behaved, and felt deeply moved. Why had he been abandoned in the deep mountains? If Shuqing hadn't brought him back, he inherited the demonic sect. Less than a year later, he also left this world. The old man did not understand what this child was so proud of. His master was desperately showcasing. The boy really wanted to say, "That's so cool." Although it was called Yukun, he had actually flown for real before. If it weren't for the fact that his father was the leader of a demonic sect, he might not have stayed there for long. Moreover, his father's martial skills were exceptionally poor.